Chapter 51, Sacrifice. Child, you also have the flaws that our family has. Odin stared at Zhang Li and said. What? Zhang was a little confused. I'm not as brainless as Thor. I didn't mean to offend you. I mean, is there something wrong with me? What's wrong with your family? What do you mean? I didn't see anything wrong when I copied Thor's divine gene. Oh, by the way, I was still too weak at the time to see the possible negative effects of divine genes. No, am I suffering from a hereditary disease from your Odin family? I would like to ask weakly, is there any cure for me? Arrogant and frivolous. This is a mistake that every member of the Asgardian royal family will make. Ah! Zhang Li said, even more confused, but I'm very low-key. Am I nervous, proud, and frivolous? I've always been very low-key. Odin's sharp eyes could see through all appearances. He smiled and pointed at Zhang Li's heart and said, but you are extremely proud in your heart, even more than Thor. Of course, you are still just a child after all. Now I am so proud of you. It's too early to say that. But someone told me that you have a mission and time waits for you, so you have to be put to the test. Zhang Li asked, is the person you are talking about the person I am thinking of now? Odin just smiled, and then his face suddenly turned serious. He turned around and roared, using Gungnir to cut through the veil of the void. On the other side of the cliff, the space was torn open, revealing a huge divine tree, its branches shining with bright divine light across countless voids. Each leaf seems to carry a small space, and together the leaves form a complete world. Just looking at this sacred tree from a distance, Zhang could feel the divine power in his body slowly growing. If this can absorb some energy at close range. As soon as this idea came up, Zhang Yan was startled by his bold idea. Just kidding, if he guessed correctly, the sacred tree in front of him would be the legendary world tree. Stealing the energy of the world tree? Doesn't that mean lighting a lamp to go to the toilet and looking for shit? Very good, it looks like you're ready to take the test. Odin gave Zhang Li a look of approval. Huh? What kind of test? I haven't, Odin suddenly disappeared, and then suddenly pierced Zhang Li's chest with a ba sound from behind with Gungnir, and lifted him up, letting Zhang Li's blood spill to the ground. Zhang was shocked. He felt that his self-healing ability seemed to have disappeared, and he could not sense any of his divine power or the energy in his body. Odin, what are you doing? Zhang Li could feel his life slowly dissipating, and the fear in his heart was gradually amplified, and then quickly took over his body. Every cell in his body was crying in despair. Although he had died once, Zhang Li struggled harder when he thought of Rita and Rina still waiting for him. Until finally, his feet and hands gradually became cold, his movements became slower and slower, and the last 2 lines of tears flowed from his desperate eyes. Then he was completely dead with his eyes open. This child comes for strength and the search for true self. Odin shouted towards the world tree and threw Zhang Li's body out. Gungnir inserted Zhang Li's body into the trunk of the world tree. Odin sacrificed tension to the world tree? No, it was Odin who helped Zhang Li complete his sacrifice, even if Zhang Li didn't know it. On the trunk of the world tree, the divine light slowly wraps the tension, slowly weaves it into a net, forms a pupa shape, and gives birth to a bark covering. The world tree has recognized Zhang Li's sacrifice. Zhang Li refused to close his eyes. His soul came to a dark void space and saw a pale and cold beauty. He was about to ask something. The next moment, his soul was pulled out of the dark void space by a divine light. A look of surprise appeared on the face of the woman in the void space for a moment. Interesting, is this the fighter Loki is looking for? An alien soul. His ability is not enough to reach outside the multiverse, so whose handiwork is this? Or is it an accident? Death, one of the founding gods of the universe, suddenly became a little bit interested in the event that tested Loki. Zhang Li's soul fell into a deep sleep, as if he was dreaming. He was aware of his own existence, but could not stop any of his actions in the dream. This feeling is amazing. In the dream, his name seemed to be Odin, a very familiar name, but he could never remember where it was familiar. One day, Surtur, the fire giant of Muspelheim, set his sights on the peaceful land of Asgard. Young Odin couldn't bear to see his father Bor working on this, so he encouraged his 2 brothers Willy and Faye to sneak into Surtur's palace of fire in an attempt to steal the eternal fire and make Surtur lose its powerful power and power. Asgard opposes. But the clumsy Odin let Surtur discover their theft, and Surtur killed them all, but their ability was not enough to fight against Surtur. In the end, Willy and Fee sacrificed themselves and injected their own divine power into Odin, causing Odin's divine power to skyrocket. He defeated Surtur and successfully captured the eternal fire, but he also lost 2 of his brothers. Soon after, Odin's father Bor had a war with the frost giants and was frozen in frost by a powerful wizard. After his family was destroyed and he inherited the throne of Asgard, Odin, who had been blinded by the fire of hatred, started a crazy war and conquered one country after another. During this period, he discovered the ambition of his daughter Hela, so he sealed her after sacrificing an entire army of Valkyries. Odin's madness continued until his battle with the frost giant Loki. In that war, he lost his right eye and Asgard won a tragic victory. In the frost, he heard the cry of a baby, which was so strong that it penetrated the cold armor and hit his heart. He picked up the newly born Loki, a weak frost giant baby, in the frost. This child will become the heir of the Odinson family. Odin seemed to hear his father's voice in the frost, so he brought Loki back to Asgard. The hatred in Odin's heart disappeared from then on. Zhang Li, who was sleeping, experienced the life of the god King Odin in his dream. The dream of thousands of years turned into a deep memory and remained in the depths of Zhang Li's mind. When Zhang Li opened his eyes again, his eyes were full of vicissitudes, and at this moment he finally understood that what Odin said before was true. You are extremely arrogant in your heart, even more arrogant than Thor. Zhang Li has been in this universe for 7 years. From birth to being cut, he didn't even have time to react. After meeting Rita, he began to think about his future life, but because of Rita's strength and obedience to him, his heart began to swell, and he dared to confront the Avengers directly. After obtaining the divine gene, Zhang Li's heart swelled again. He played tricks on Star-Lord and Yelena, and then fell in love with the mutant genes of the people in the Hellfire Club. When Reina was injured, he was still thinking about how to get Sebastian's mutant genes. After being teleported to New Mexico by Loki, he provoked Thor, teased S.H.I.E.L.D., beat Loki and showed no fear of the Ancient One. He behaved frivolously and was even more rude in the drinking contest in Asgard. Odin was right, his arrogance was even greater than Thor's. Here is. Zhang Li found himself lying on a lake in a white dress, and it seemed that he had not returned to Asgard yet. Welcome to Valhalla. A group of people in white clothes walked up to Zhang Li. I thought the test was over and I should be able to survive. So I am really dead. Chapter 52, Awakening. On this day, God King Odin felt something in his heart. He came to the grassland cliff again and cut through the sky with his bare hands, revealing the true face of the world tree. Kaka. The tree cocoon wrapping Zhang Zhang began to slowly crack, and Odin reached out to call Gangnir back into his hand. The wounds on Zhang Zhang's body slowly healed under the light of the sacred tree. At the same time, Zhang Zhang, who was learning swordsmanship in the Hall of Valor, suddenly felt a call, and his soul began to slowly become blurred. It seems it's time for you to return to this world. The beautiful and brave Valkyrie Freya said. During the 3 months he lived in the Hall of Valor, Freya was his swordsmanship teacher, teaching him swordsmanship and the use of various weapons and combat skills. Thank you very much for your patient guidance, Goddess Freya. Could you please also thank the other instructors for their guidance on my behalf? In addition to swordsmanship, he also learned divine magic from other mages in the Hall of Valor. I will. Thanks again. After inheriting Odin's experience in his dream, Zhang Li's arrogance was eliminated, and he is now humble and polite. After Freya promised, Zhang Zhang's soul dissipated directly in the Hall of Valor. On the trunk of the world tree, Zhang Zhang suddenly opened his eyes. Ugh! Holding his head in his arms, Zhang Li fell down from the world tree in pain and rolled to Odin's feet. Odin silently recited the divine words and transferred the divine power into Zhang Li's body. The pain in his head slowed down, and at the same time, he slowly inherited some special rune power. What's this? Odin said, that is a rune, a powerful divine rune. In theory, it can evolve countless divine magics. 24 runes are engraved in Zhang Li's mind, and he can use the combination of these magic runes to cast powerful magic and blessings. I feel like the divine power in my body has increased a lot. More than just a section, he felt that his current divine power could lift the earth. Sacrifice the world tree with death, and the harvest will be inevitable. Your previous body did not match your age. Your divine power was stored in the body, but your soul was at odds with the body. It was just an illusion. Now you have sacrificed your death to the world tree, received the blessing of the divine tree, and experienced Odin's dream, and your body and soul have reunited. From then on, you can be considered a god. Zhang Li probably understood that after he integrated the divine gene before, his body grew a lot, which may be a side effect of the surge in divine power. Therefore, even though he has divine power, it is not his own, so he will feel blocked when using it. Afterwards, he combined his divine power with the mutant gene and integrated it into his body again, and this barrier became smaller. But now, he feels that all he needs is a thought, and the divine power in his body can respond. And at this moment, he felt that the ground beneath his feet seemed unusually kind. He seems to be able to control the power of the earth. The tension is just a movement of his mind, and the ground under his feet is as easy as he controls the metal with a magnetic field. An earth dragon that combines Lois and rock turns over the grass and lifts the tension. Wow, this feels like I am one with the earth. Odin explained, your divine attributes are blessed by the divine tree, and you gain part of the authority of the god of the earth. Thank you very much for your help, God King. Zhang Li said slowly, but next time there is a ceremony similar to sacrifice, please remind me. The fear of death, the 1,000-year dream of Odin, and as the dead man lived in the Hall of Valor for 3 months, which is too cruel for a 7-year-old child. Odin smiled and said, ha ha ha, the result is good, isn't it? Aren't you afraid that my heart will be full of hatred, and then I will wake up and become an evil god, baring my teeth and claws to destroy Asgard? If you become an evil god, I will ensure that you will not be able to wake up. That's why I say this is a test. Hiss, Zhang Li took a breath of cold air. Thanks to his 2 lifetimes, he could see some clues. If this was really a 7-year-old child, he probably wouldn't know how cold it was. As expected of Odin, the former iron-blooded god king, he could even be called a tyrant. On the surface, he looks kind and has good intentions, but when he takes action, he is not soft-hearted at all. Well, I still don't know something. In the myth, you stabbed yourself and sacrificed your right eye to the upside-down world tree for 9 days and 9 nights before you were blessed. But I don't seem to have sacrificed anything. Taste. Although death was used as a sacrifice, Zhang Li is now alive again. Isn't this equivalent to deceiving the world tree? The experience of death can also be counted as a sacrifice, and the experience of Odin's dream and the journey to the Hall of Valor can also be counted as a sacrifice. Zhang always felt that Odin spoke too lightly. Can these things be used as sacrifices? Could it be that Odin realized that the origin of tension was related to Loki, so he sacrificed something privately? Anyway, he wouldn't believe it if he said that Odin's dream was a sacrifice. Before the change, Zhang Li would definitely break the casserole and ask the truth, but now his arrogance has subsided, and he also knows that some things don't need to be asked too clearly. Regardless of Odin's reasons for helping him complete the sacrifice, as long as Loki, the god of stories, knows it. After sleeping for more than 3 months, I suddenly feel like a new person. This experience is really amazing. Zhang Li stretched, his bones crackling, as if he had just woken up. In fact, you were asleep for a year and 5 months. What? So I slept in Odin's dream for 14 months. Odin said, it does take some time to engrave the experience in your mind. Zhang Li understood again, how could a person change so easily? It turned out that this was because Odin had performed a long brainwashing operation on him, engraving those experiences into Zhang Li's brain, directly changing Zhang Li's personality. Why wasn't Thor hung on the world tree? Look at how long it takes to exile for a few days, and how long does it take to brainwash. Exiling Thor is really a good deal, isn't it? I still need to remind you that your spiritual energy is very strong, but strong spiritual energy does not mean strong personal will. Only a strong will can match strong energy. Remember. Zhang Li silently wrote down Odin's words. At Odin's level, his reminders often represent the future he has glimpsed. He is warning Zhang Li that he may suffer some kind of danger or test in the future because his willpower is not strong enough. I will remember it, God King. This is your magic book. Odin took out a thick magic book and handed it back to Zhang Li. After Zhang Li was stabbed to death by Odin, the mirror space had no energy supply and naturally shattered, and the things inside naturally belonged to Odin. So the destroyer armor returned to its original owner, and Zhang Li was no longer embarrassed to ask for it back. Chapter 53, Have a Good Meal. A remote town in New Mexico. It has been more than a year since Thor last visited here. The smart mayor directly promoted the situation, rebuilt Thor's hammer at the place where Mjolnir fell, and transformed the town into a tourist destination. The town suddenly had many legends about Thor in one day. The TV commercial said, "Do you know what Thor's favorite food is? What is his favorite beer? What is his favorite pet? What is his favorite clothing? Then welcome to Thor City, where you can find all kinds of shops Thor likes. If you happen to be bored at night and want to listen to some songs and dance, we have a special Thor dance hall. I heard that Miss Taza once made Thor stare at her. You know. In the era of rapid development of electronic products, various information spread wildly on the internet. The superhero Iron Man and the Devil Hulk appeared on the big screen, completely opening a mysterious door for people. So when the videos related to the Destroyer and Thor appeared on the internet, basically everyone in the world knew the truth of this world. Gods do exist. It is worth mentioning that Zhang Li has also become a god in people's mouths. Unfortunately, people do not know Zhang Li's real name, so they mistake him for the god of war Tyr. After all, he knocked the Destroyer to the ground with one kick, and his combat power is really terrifying. On the yellow sand 10 miles away from the town, a venomous snake stared at the lizard on the sand. Squeak! Suddenly, the sparks flashing out of thin air scared the lizard and made it run away. The flashing sparks opened a circle of light, and then Zhang Li, dressed in gorgeous clothes, took a step forward. Looking at the barren desert in front of him, Zhang Li closed his eyes, and his telepathic ability quickly covered the town 10 miles away in his mind. It looks like I succeeded. Hiss! A black venomous snake suddenly shot up and showed 2 sharp fangs to Zhang Li. But the venomous snake was directly fixed in mid-air by the telekinetic field 10 centimeters away from Zhang Li. Zhang Li waved his hand at the portal behind him to disperse it, then squatted down and grabbed the venomous snake's head. I'm sorry, I trespassed into your territory without permission. Zhang Li apologized and released the venomous snake. He was like a high monk, full of compassion. The venomous snake seemed to know how powerful Zhang Li was, and was frightened and quickly fled to the desert. Zhang Li looked at the venomous snake that was gradually moving away and sighed, I heard that the taste of snake soup is amazing, what a pity. Zhang Li turned around and was about to leave, but suddenly he stopped again. You don't really think that I have a change of heart and become a vegetarian, do you? With a whoosh, Zhang Li turned into a shadow and caught the venomous snake again. You want to poison me, but now I want to eat you. Is that okay? Odin said I was too arrogant. I will admit defeat if I can't beat you. I am willing to learn humbly, but who do you think you are? You dare to provoke me? I must eat you today. So the pitiful snake was taken to a restaurant in the city by Zhang Li, and the chef made a delicious snake soup. Burp cool. Apart from wine and fruit, I can't get used to anything else in Asgard. It's better to live in the human world. After eating and drinking, Zhang Li held a toothpick in his mouth, patted his round belly, and leaned on the chair like a waste. Oh, I'm so stupid. Zhang Li suddenly cursed himself for being stupid. We are already on Earth, why don't we go to the east to eat Chinese food? At the very least, go to Chinatown. Oh, my brain. Zhang Li regretted it a lot. Did he not eat well for too long? He was so full of Western food. The fat boss of the restaurant saw Zhang Li laughing and crying from time to time, and his behavior was strange, so he called 2 younger brothers to come to Zhang Li. Sir, are you satisfied with the food? Your total consumption is $1,825. Please pay the bill. How much does it cost to eat a meal in a small restaurant? It's only $20 or $30, but Zhang Li eats so much. Look at the plates on the table, which are stacked up more than 10 layers. Even mosquitoes flying onto the table feel crowded. Sorry, I don't have money. Huh? Ah? Eating a free meal? The fat boss was so angry that he laughed. Are people who eat free meals so rampant these days? But I have gold. Zhang Li threw a piece of gold out. The fat boss, who had rolled up his sleeves, caught a golden stone unexpectedly, which weighed about 100 grams. Who knows if it's real or fake? Without waiting for the boss's instructions, the 2 younger brothers behind him directly brought porcelain plates, pliers, and flamethrowers. The boss carefully cut off a small piece of gold and put it in the porcelain plate and burned it with a flamethrower. In a short while, the gold was burned into a small drop of gold liquid. "Boss, it's real gold, we are rich." "What rich?" "I am rich." The stingy fat boss gave the small drop of gold liquid to two younger brothers, and then respectfully sent Zhang Li, the rich man, out of the restaurant. "Hey, Lao Zhen, I have a business here, do you want to do it?" After the fat boss sent Zhang Li out of the restaurant, he immediately made a phone call. "Just kidding, how can you open a restaurant these days without some strength and background? This is a free country." "Hey, it's all because Odin brainwashed me, otherwise you wouldn't be able to survive at all." In the deep alley, Zhang Li looked at the few gangsters lying on the ground and sighed helplessly. He now has a sense of resistance to killing, and there is always a voice in his heart saying, they are not worthy of death. Before, Zhang Li could kill a group of people with just a raise of his hand, but now he was kind-hearted and used force with a few gangsters to defeat them with his skills. "Hey! The water in the world is too deep, and I still can't control it. It's better to be in a land of nothingness, with no restrictions. I wonder how Rita and Rena are doing now." Zhang Li was not worried about Rita and Rena's safety. There were not many people there who could directly threaten their lives with force. "I simply miss my family." With the cooperation of telekinesis and teleportation abilities, Zhang arrived in New York City before dark. Why not use a portal? Good question, because he has never been to New York and has no coordinates. It's so funny, Master Ancient One. When such a powerful god like me came to Earth, you didn't even invite me to a cup of tea. You kept me tossing for so long. Okay, let me see where the New York temple is. Zhang Li was just about to start his telepathy, but suddenly he thought, this is the center of the universe. Who knows if there are any untouchable big guys hidden in this small city? A rash exploration will not cause any misunderstandings, right? If someone like a heavenly father penetrates me again, who knows if I can survive this time? Odin's brainwashing is still useful. The methods of the Land of Nothingness will not work here. From New York City to gangsters and OAA, everyone has lived here. It would be unwise to investigate rashly. Okay, should I go find the braised Eggman or the big shit? Let me hesitate. It's better to go to Wall Street for a good meal first. Chapter 54, First Meeting with Shit Big. Big Shit built a tall building in New York, reaching into the sky. The word Mark Stark can be vaguely seen 10 miles away. "Sir, this is a private building. No one is allowed to enter." Just as Zhang Li was about to enter the building, he was stopped by the security guard. "Why are you talking? Do you think I am an idler?" The two security guards shrugged and said nothing, but their meaning was clear. "How can you tell? Why can others enter but I can't?" Zhang Li was confused. "Are all the security guards you hire so awesome? Didn't you say that the security guards at my Lycan are just freeloaders? The people who can enter this building are either dignitaries or business tycoons. They all need bodyguards, secretaries and the like, but you are here alone. So is there a possibility?" "No. I haven't said anything yet." The two security guards looked at each other and said, "We know what you want to say before you even say anything. It's like a cousin having a child. In short, he's either a relative or a benefactor. If it doesn't work, start from Ms. Pepper's side." Zhang Li was speechless and asked, "Do you often encounter this kind of thing? There are always a few superhero fans here every day. You are not the first, and you will not be the last. So, if it's Captain Happy, the frequency is indeed lower. Very good, you are all dedicated security guards." After saying that, Zhang Li turned around and left. How is that possible? It's not too easy for Zhang Li to enter a building, right? How could just two security guards stop him? Zhang Li snapped his fingers and directly gave the two security guards a mental hint, making them unable to see him, thus achieving the effect of invisibility. Immediately, Zhang walked into Stark Tower in a swaggering manner. After getting on the elevator, Tension went straight to the top floor. As soon as he entered the door, he saw Big Shit kissing Miss Pepper passionately. Click. Zhang Li got a camera from nowhere, walked directly to the two of them and started taking pictures. "Whoa, who are you? What are you doing?" Shitka and Pepper were startled by the sudden tension, and their little hearts were beating fast. "Why does it feel so exciting?" Don't get me wrong. I'm a photographer. I just saw two people lovingly falling in love and kissing each other. I couldn't help but want to freeze this touching scene for eternity. I'm grateful for $100,000. Zhang started talking nonsense and asked for $100,000. Are you a fucking robber? What kind of photos cost 100,000 yuan? Who the hell aren't you? Who asked you to break in? Shi Dada was so angry at Zhang Li. You should be thankful that I'm a good, law-abiding citizen, otherwise I would be able to beat up a bunch of young guys like you even without my armor. Now give me the camera. What camera? Zhang Li spread his hands and threw the camera directly into the mirror space. Shitadako saw the camera that had mysteriously disappeared from Zhang Li's hand. He pretended to be calm and moved to the side, protecting Pepper behind him, and pressed the phone button on the table. Happy, where did you die? Didn't you notice that a stranger came in? Now I advise you not to do anything stupid. You are still young. Shi Dakao is extremely wary of Zhang Li. He has not yet developed a nano armor and has no equipment on him. If Zhang Li wants to do something, he will be too young to be strong. If the other party had a gun or something, there would be no need to fight. After all, Zhang Li can lurk next to them quietly, and it's not that simple at first glance. What are you nervous about? If I had any ill intentions, I would have already taken action when you informed Happy. Don't test it, I'm here to discuss business. I'll give you the camera. Zhang Li stopped acting like a fool and reached out to hand the camera to him. Shit Dada took the camera and handed it to Pepper, then relaxed a little and asked, Who are you? Zhang Li sat on the sofa opposite. Before he could speak, Happy's voice came from outside the door. Tony, I'm coming. Then Happy rushed into the narrow office with a large group of bodyguards. Happy, thank you for bringing thousands of troops to rescue me. Now can you tell me why you have so many people, but you can still let a little thief run into my office silently? Pepper interjected, actually, this is my office. The shitty guy just waved his hand and asked the shopkeeper. Does he have an office? Yes, this is even more dangerous. If I hadn't been here today, how would you have asked Pepper to deal with this vicious gangster? Zhang Li asked, so am I a little thief or a vicious gangster? Does it make a difference? I'll take him to the police station now. Happy stretched out his hand to grab Zhang Li without saying a word. His physique is so strong that he feels quite oppressive. Wait a minute. Zhang Li dodged back and avoided Happy's capture. Mr. Big Shit, I'm here to discuss business. What? What did you call me? Pfft. Pepper couldn't help laughing. I remembered something, Happy, she explained. Zhang Li added, anyone in your family has given birth to a baby. Everyone was stunned and the atmosphere was awkward. Sorry, I just wanted to lighten the tense atmosphere. Happy, get him out of here. Wait, let me say the last thing. I can take the shrapnel out of your chest. Shi Dake sneered, you are so boastful, but you are afraid of spraining your tongue. I have consulted the best surgical experts, but they can't help you. How old are you? Happy, do it. Wait a minute. This time it was Miss Pepper who spoke. Let him talk. She has fallen in love with Stark. Women are emotional, and they will not easily give up any possible hope. Pepper, he is a liar. Stark wanted to persuade him, but Pepper said I want to listen. Shi Dake could only wave his hand helplessly at Happy. How could he refuse Pepper's love for him? Shi Dake, you deserve to die. There is such a beautiful woman who loves you deeply and is willing to do everything for you, but you go out to play poker every day. Scum. I have changed. Stop talking nonsense, and tell me how you plan to implement your scam. I will definitely make you regret it after you finish. As the smartest genius of this century, he himself can't do it, so he doesn't believe that a young boy like Zhang Li can do it. It's very simple. I have superpowers. Happy, get out. This time, even Pepper didn't want to listen to Zhang Li anymore. Happy didn't take action, but waved to the brothers behind him, and the two strong men rushed directly to Zhang Li. Why is it that telling the truth is always questioned? Isn't this the fighting skills that Zhang Li learned from Freya in Valhalla? He twisted his body to avoid being caught, and then raised his hands, and the two strong men were pushed out by him. Chapter 55, the conditions are as follows. Have you ever heard of hypnotism? Zhang Li turned to ask Stark. I don't know much about it. Do you want to learn more about it? Stark has a big heart and can still talk and laugh in this situation. In fact, he has asked Jarvis to activate his secret weapon, the newly developed Mark 42 armor, although the technology is not yet very mature. I'll lend you your watch. Zhang Li stretched out his hand and grabbed it, and the famous watch on Stark's wrist came into Zhang Li's hand. Zhang Li swayed his watch in front of Happy and the bodyguards like a pendulum. Happy and the others stared at their watches and shook their heads together. Obedious children will get sweets. Zhang Li took back the watch and threw it back to Stark, and then directly ordered Happy and the others, forget everything about me, and then go back to work and disband. Immediately, Happy and the others walked out of the office obediently like puppets and returned to their posts. Happy, Happy. Stark tried to wake Happy up, but to no avail. Is this your superpower? Being able to hypnotize others? Then why don't you just hypnotize me so you can get everything you want? Zhang Li explained, first of all, I am a legal citizen. Secondly, someone told me to keep a low profile. It's not low-key to stand in front of me and demonstrate your magical powers, Stark said. Pepper interrupted the argument between the two and asked directly, so, is there any way you can remove the shrapnel from Tony's body? Shit, Ms. Pepper knows how to take care of your body better than you do. Can you please stop mentioning those three disgusting words? My name is Shit. Stark. He almost got involved. I just don't want to have to worry about changing jobs anymore. It's hard to find jobs now, especially high-paying jobs. Pepper came up with an excuse, which didn't sound very reasonable. Okay, distinguished Mr. Little Wizard, can we talk about the business you mentioned now? How do you know I'm a wizard? Ah? Did I say that? This is not important. Tell me your method. What is the chance of success? Zhang Li smiled and did not answer directly. Instead, he told his own story. I believe you all know the story of the arrival of Thor, the god of thunder. In the next 2 hours, Zhang Li started telling stories about meeting Saul in New Mexico, mixed with many random nonsense stories, until he came to New York City. Pepper and Stark were forced to listen to all the legendary deeds that Zhang Li had experienced in the past 2 years. Okay, it's finally over, right? Then let's. Zhang Li interrupted, oh, I'm a little hungry. Why don't we find a place to eat and chat? Stark pointed angrily at Zhang Li's nose and said, you brat, my patience is limited. I've already wasted 2 precious hours with you. What else do you want? Mr. Shit, calm down. You are a superhero now, so you need to calm down. Zhang Li approached Stark and patted his chest without leaving a trace. What are you doing? Stark reacted and realized that the tension had touched his reactor, and immediately retreated cautiously. Whoa, look what this is. Jarvis, can you hear me? Check what's missing in our dude. Zhang opened his palm, and 2 small metal fragments lay quietly on it. Diddy. Stark took out the smartphone in his pocket. On it was the image obtained by the artificial intelligence Jarvis after scanning Stark. At the same time, Jarvis' report came from Stark's headset, Sir, 2 small pieces of shrapnel fragments in your body disappeared out of thin air. Sorry, sir, I did not find out what method Mr. Zhang used to do it. At the same time, I have not found any trace of Mr. Zhang's existence on the internet. How about Tony? Pepper couldn't understand the image displayed on the phone, nor could she hear Jarvis's voice. How did you do it? Zhang Li's method was beyond his cognition and seemed to have no scientific basis. Zhang Li ignored the shocked Stark and instead said to Pepper, Ms. Pepper, I'm new here and penniless. Can you treat me to a nice meal? Don't have any bad intentions. Stark warned Zhang Li fiercely. Oh, shit, you are indeed a well-known playboy. Please, I'm not an adult yet, please don't insult my thoughts, okay? Underage? You look at least 25. Although Zhang Li looks very young, Stark just doesn't like Zhang Li. I am 9 years old. Zhang Li told the truth, but no one believed it. Finally, Pepper said, you look very young, you shouldn't be 20 or 17 or 18 years old. This is indeed the case in appearance, but some old people whose souls are in their 30s or 40s just rely on the fact that they are 8 years old. Ms. Pepper put down a lot of work, drove to a high-end Chinese restaurant and booked it directly. "Hey, your restaurant is awesome. It has 8 major cuisines, are you bragging?" Zhang Li communicated with the restaurant manager in authentic Mandarin. "Sir, are you Chinese?" "What? I look too white, don't I look like that?" "No, no." The manager began to introduce the restaurant. "Our boss is also Chinese. He just wants to put his own cuisine on the international stage, so many of the chefs in our store are orthodox descendants of the 8 major cuisines. That's a treat. I personally like Sichuan cuisine, and I have a big appetite. You can decide. I believe you know the names of the 2 people next to me. Money is really nothing to them." The manager is also a smart man. He can see that Zhang Li is the guest of this banquet, so he didn't ask much. After leaving 2 beautiful waitresses, he left. "What is this? It smells quite fragrant. Wow, so spicy, so juicy." Traditional Sichuan cuisine rarely uses chili peppers, but Zhang Li didn't expect Stark to see so many kinds of delicacies and not eat them, but instead picked the mapo tofu. Looking at the tableware again, Zhang Li understood that mapo tofu can be eaten with a spoon. "Is this for people? Orientals are so weird. I think it's quite delicious." Although Pepper didn't know how to use chopsticks, at least she was not as arrogant as Stark. With the help of the waiter, she could barely pick up the food. Stark couldn't refuse Pepper's face, so he changed the subject and asked, "Tell me your conditions. What do you want to get rid of the shrapnel in my body?" 3 requirements. "Tell me. First, I don't have an ID card." "That's easy. I can get any identity you want by just saying hello." "Second, I don't have money. I can give you a lot of money." "Third, help me find a building with this logo, in New York." Zhang Li took out a piece of paper from his pocket, on which was drawn a round window pattern with the word "well." "That's it." Stark obviously didn't expect that what Zhang Li wanted was so simple. "That's it? Nothing else?" "No, what else do you want? I've seen people bargaining. Do you want to increase the price?" "No, why should I bother? I'm happy to be relaxed." Chapter 56, Visiting Ancient One. Happy drove Zhang Li to the New York temple. Zhang felt the magic fluctuation as soon as he got out of the car. No wonder Stark had been looking for it for so long. A protective magic has been cast on the temple, which can cause visual illusions and make it difficult to see the specific appearance of the temple. "Thank you, Happy, you can go back. Tony asked me to keep an eye on you, you haven't cured him yet. The ID card and a large amount of money he promised me haven't been cashed yet. Besides, you can't stand me." It seems so. Most of the people who could enter the temple were the magicians of Karmatage, so Zhang Li pushed the door open and entered without attracting too much attention. The mages formed small groups and chatted and discussed casually in the main hall until Master Daniel came downstairs. "Is this Mr. Zhang Li? The Supreme Mage is waiting for you at Karmatage." Master Daniel's words made many mages look sideways at Zhang Li. Having gained the favor of the Supreme Mage at such a young age, his future is limitless. "I am Zhang Li, please ask the mage to lead the way." Zhang Li complained internally, "He knew I was coming but he didn't send anyone to pick me up." Master Daniel directly opened the portal, crossed tens of thousands of miles with tension, and appeared directly in the small square of Karmatage. "Master Modu was waiting here." Master Daniel stepped forward to explain the situation, and then handed Zhang Li to Master Modu. "The Master Supreme is waiting upstairs." Zhang Li followed Master Modu upstairs, and happened to meet 3 old masters coming downstairs. They must have just exchanged magic with Gu Yi. "The Supreme Mage is here." Ancient Yi was wearing a simple plain robe. He looked very thin and his eyes were full of wisdom. "You seem to have changed a lot and your mind has matured a lot. Come over and have a cup of hot tea. I'm here to return the book and ask for advice on some obscure runes." Zhang Li reached out and took out the magician that Gu Yi had lent to him from the mirror space. This scene surprised Master Modu. He never thought that Zhang Li would be a mage and he could hide things in the mirror space. He was obviously very powerful. Moreover, this man actually asked the Supreme Mage to borrow the magic book. Who is he? Can I ask for advice on runes? It seems that you have gained a lot in more than a year. Of course Gu Yi knew that Zhang Li had gone to Asgard, so when Zhang Li mentioned runes, she thought of runes. Master Modu, please return this magic book to the library, and tell the other mages that I need to entertain distinguished guests today, so let them go back first. Master Modu obviously didn't expect that Gu Yi would push him away, but he didn't say anything more and retreated respectfully. I don't understand. You can spy on time, but you haven't thought about changing it. Ancient One told him that small forces can make a difference, so he helped Stark take out a few pieces of shrapnel in advance. But Gu Yi didn't even bother to touch the small situation, and played his role honestly. Sometimes letting nature take its course is the best choice. From the moment I absorbed the energy of the dark dimension, everything was a done deal. Rigid. Zhang Li thought for a long time and only managed to choke out 2 words. Ha ha ha, compared to you young people, we older generations are indeed more rigid and not adaptable. Our knowledge and experience have made us and bound us. Maybe one day in the future, you will also have this kind of problem. Feel. In the following time, Zhang Li asked Master Gu Yi for advice on runes. Each character in the runes has many different meanings, and each character can be combined with other characters. While in Asgard, Zhang Li asked God King Odin and Queen Frigga for advice. They speak clearly, but the tension feels like hearing from heaven. Zhang Li thought he could hear some special insights from Gu Yi, but again, because of his lack of knowledge in the basics of magic, he was unable to understand what Gu Yi was talking about. Every word is clear to the ear, but putting them together is a headache. Ancient One said, the runes are engraved in your mind, and you can correctly interpret the meaning of each rune. In theory, you can control them. Zhang Li said, but when I use my divine power to carve the same rune, it is difficult to accurately control that the meaning it expresses is unified. Just like when tension depicts the rune that represents wealth, it also has other meanings such as cattle, unity, harvest, and fertility. The runes that Zhang Li cannot accurately control and depict all represent wealth. Odin is right. Your spiritual energy is strong, but your spiritual will is weak. So what do I do? Perhaps because of his mutant abilities and his two-life relationship, Zhang Li's spiritual energy is very powerful. But compared to old monsters like Odin and Ancient One, he lacks a firm belief to guide his will. At the level of will, even tampering with memory is difficult to work. You need to go through hardships and then understand your own heart. But if you just want to master the runes proficiently, I suggest you learn the history and theory of magic. It will be of some use. In the end, Zhang Li refused Master Gu Yi's invitation to come to Karmatage to practice with his apprentices. He borrowed 2 books on magic history and magic theory and returned to New York late at night. Stark's private apartment. Coulson came with 2 agents to visit. They knew that Stark had applied for an ID card for Zhang Li. After checking the surveillance, they found that Zhang Li had contact with Stark, so Coulson came. 2 agents stayed in front of the apartment to pay attention to the situation, and Ms. Pepper took Coulson into the hall. Hey, you-hoo, what do you want to do? Are you planting spies around me again? When Jarvis found Coulson and the others, Stark stopped his research and walked out of the laboratory. After seeing the power of S.H.I.E.L.D., Stark was always cautious with them. Mr. Stark, I came for Mr. Zhang Li, we are friends. What tension? I know magnetism, electricity, and gravity, but I don't know what tension is. Pepper, do you know? Pepper pretended to be deaf and dumb and did not answer. Besides, why did your friend come to me instead of looking for you? Coulson said patiently, Mr. Stark, our people found out that you had contact with him, and they are applying for his ID card. I brought it to you. Coulson took out a transparent file bag with 2 cards in it. One is the Social Security number card, which is the ID card, and the other is the driver's license. In America, these 2 cards are proof of identity. Chapter 57, Non-Staff Consultant. Pepper, have you seen this? Our country has become so rotten that even state institutions need to fabricate false evidence. Stark didn't buy Coulson's tricks and directly reversed the facts, denying the fact that Zhang Li had contact with him. In his opinion, if a young man who can do magic was taken to S.H.I.E.L.D. by Coulson, he would probably be sliced and studied. Mr. Stark, I hope you can cooperate with my work. Cooperate with what? I don't know what you are talking about. Please leave my private territory now, otherwise it will be bad for everyone. Squeak. Just when the atmosphere was tense, sparks suddenly flashed in the hall, and a spark halo appeared, and then Zhang Li stepped out from it. Sorry, I didn't expect there would be so many people in the hall. How about I go back? Stark stayed in the laboratory all day long, and Pepper had countless documents to deal with. Zhang Li really didn't expect so many people to appear in the hall. What the hell? What is that? Compared to the shock of Stark and Pepper, Coulson walked up calmly and handed the ID card to Zhang Li. Nice to see you again, Mr. Zhang Li. I'm not very happy. After all, who wants to be stared at by a black boiled egg every day? Tony. Pepper approached Stark a little nervously. Stark consoled him, then asked the artificial intelligence Jarvis, Jarvis, am I hallucinating? Have you found anything? Jarvis, Mr. Zhang Li seems to have realized some kind of space-traveling technology. At the moment the aperture appeared, I detected wind currents that appeared out of thin air, as well as some other particles that did not belong to the apartment. So he is a time traveler with future technology. Jarvis, this possibility is not ruled out, because there is no information about him in the world. But he may also be a god in a myth. He once told you the story of his journey to Asgard, didn't he? Stark asked Zhang Li, so who are you? I am Zhang Li. I am asking what your identity is and where you are from. As you can see, I am a magician from somewhere else, I mean outside the Earth. So you are an interstellar traveler. As one of the smartest people in the world, he certainly does not believe that there is only one civilization in the universe, human beings. You can understand it that way. Not some fugitive, or an expelled prince or something like that. You've watched too many movies. Stark asked again, so is the light ring you just saw magic? What's the principle? Has your body been modified with some super technology? Is your current appearance your real appearance? Shit big, your curiosity is a bit too strong. Pucci, ha ha ha, what did you call him just now? Shit big? Ha ha ha, sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at you, shit big, no Stark. Mr. Zhang Li, you know how to give nicknames. Shit big, this is even more excessive than black sauce egg and fuck man. Even a professionally trained agent like Coulson couldn't help laughing. Stark pointed at Coulson and asked, so what's your nickname for him? Tell me about it, it'll make me happy. Coulson? I didn't give him a nickname. Usually, I'll only be nicknamed by people I like or hate. Stark said confidently, I know, who wouldn't like Mr. Stark, who is handsome, charming, smart, and rich. I hate you, can't you tell that it's such a disgusting nickname? You envy me, there are so many people in the world who envy and hate me. Maybe there are even more people who hate and dislike you. You guys chat, I still have a lot of work to do. Pepper turned and left the hall. She couldn't understand why these three grown men were like children. Especially the agent, wasn't he here to work? Why was he still talking about nicknames with others? After realizing that he had lost his composure, Coulson cleared his throat and said, Mr. Zhang Li, I'm here to negotiate with you on behalf of S.H.I.E.L.D. Can we talk? Coulson, Stark, and Zhang Li sat in the hall and chatted. Coulson was ordered by Black Egg Fury to recruit Zhang Li, hoping that Zhang Li could join S.H.I.E.L.D., or at least take a sinecure. Unable to withstand Coulson's soft and hard grinding, Zhang Li finally agreed to become an extra staff consultant of S.H.I.E.L.D. There is no need to obey the instructions of S.H.I.E.L.D., but at the critical moment, Zhang Li is expected to provide them with relevant information. So you have already salvaged the popsicle. The popsicle Zhang Li was talking about was Steve Rogers, who had been frozen for 70 years. He has been integrated into social life for more than half a year. Thank you again for providing information, Mr. Zhang Li. Wait, don't you have anything to say to me? And what about the popsicle you are talking about? Seeing that Coulson was about to leave, Stark was unhappy. S.H.I.E.L.D. wanted to invite him to join the Avengers, and they sent Black Widow to do a detailed character analysis of Stark. Now Coulson finally came here, but he didn't even mention it. Coulson glanced at Stark, then left without saying anything. What? Zhang Li, did you see that? He dared to ignore me and my talent. What future does such an organization have? You actually joined them. Zhang Li agreed, Tony, great minds think alike. I also think that S.H.I.E.L.D. has no future. Then why did you agree to be a shitty consultant? Are you short of money? Tell me, I have plenty of money. Zhang Li explained, sometimes I just don't want to cause trouble for no reason. I have to make some people feel that I am still under their control, otherwise I will have a lot of trouble if they go crazy. Buzz buzz buzz, flies are annoying, aren't they? That makes sense. Stark raised the wine on the table and took a sip, then asked, okay, now it's just the two of us. Be honest, what do you want? Stark tapped the reactor on his chest gently. He was asking Zhang Li when he was going to fulfill his promise to remove the shrapnel in his body, and also asking Zhang Li what his purpose was in approaching him. I'm just a passerby, just looking for some fun when I'm free. Well, it's getting late, I have to go to bed. Zhang Li smiled, raised his glass and drank the contents in the glass, then went straight back to his room to rest. Stark looked solemn. He didn't believe that Zhang Li, the mysterious traveler, would approach him for no reason. After experiencing his uncle's betrayal and several life and death disasters, his world suddenly changed dramatically. He doesn't trust anyone now, only himself, except Pepper. Jarvis, I can't sleep. Let's continue working. Get the design drawings of Mark 42. I suddenly have an idea. Chapter 58. Late at night, Nick Fury rushed to S.H.I.E.L.D's secret underground base. The cosmic Rubik's Cube they had been studying for a long time suddenly had a violent energy reaction tonight. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, Fury immediately drove to the base. After the last Thor incident, Dr. Shavig was kindly invited by S.H.I.E.L.D. to join. Now he is using his own knowledge reserves to try to solve the problems caused by the universal Rubik's Cube. Nick Fury doesn't understand scientific research and doesn't understand Dr. Shavig's professional terminology. He just wants to know the possible consequences. Maybe someone is opening the door towards us. Hawkeye guessed. His words hit the mark. While everyone was astonished, the energy of the cosmic cube reacted violently and suddenly shot out a beam of light, teleporting Loki into the base. Since the last Asgard incident, Loki fell into the Star Sea, but gained the favor of Thanos, the overlord of the universe. Thanos promised that as long as Loki could bring him the Space Stone, he promised to help Loki become the king of the Earth. In fact, this is an empty talk. If he can conquer the Earth, why bother to let Loki come to the Earth? The Ancient One is still alive, and Odin will not sit idly by. Everyone is in peace, and it's not time to turn the table over yet. From one end of the starry sky to the other, this process was obviously not as easy as the Rainbow Bridge. Loki was panting and his forehead was covered with sweat. Sir, please put down your weapons. Lu Dan's eyes were venomous, and he immediately realized that the spiritual scepter in Loki's hand was extraordinary. Perhaps it was because of the gleaming scepter that Loki could communicate with the Rubik's Cube and teleport here. Loki looked sideways slightly. He couldn't understand how these stupid and weak mortals dared to talk nonsense in front of them. Especially those ants on the side who dared to point their guns at him. Loki took one step forward and jumped to an agent. Before anyone could react, he directly pierced the mind scepter into the agent's body. Ta ta ta! When the other agents saw Loki's ferocious appearance, they raised their firearms and pointed them at Loki without hesitation. How could a mortal defeat a god? Loki didn't even use magic and relied directly on physical skills to easily defeat the gun-toting agents. I am Loki, from Asgard, and I have a glorious mission. The evil god Loki announced his name to mortals for the first time. This moment, after he rules the earth, will be recorded in history forever. A mortal country does not need the guidance of gods. After a brief negotiation, Nick Fury was not deterred by Loki's identity and strength. Stupid, pathetic mortals. Loki was also mentally prepared, but he didn't expect Nick Fury's attitude to be so tough. The battle continued, and the agents rushed towards Loki one after another. Fury wanted to retreat first with the cosmic cube, but Loki would not let him succeed. Hawkeye's strength is greatly limited in the underground base, and there are no bows and arrows around him, so he can only use the ultimate physical strength of the human body. Loki also discovered that Hawkeye Barton was stronger than other agents and was not an ant that could be slapped to death by him casually. So he used the power of the Mind Scepter to invade Hawkeye's brain and control him. Loki and Barton worked together to steal the cosmic cube from Fury, and abducted Dr. Shavig along the way. Loki wants to bring Kirita's army to the Earth through the cosmic cube, and he also needs someone to help him build a teleportation matrix that can open a space wormhole. Loki escaped from S.H.I.E.L.D.'s underground base, and then a big explosion occurred in the base. Countless agents were buried underground, and their lives and deaths were unknown. Fury tried to fly a plane to chase the cosmic cube, but was shot down by Loki using the Mind Scepter. Ended in failure. Fury looked at the car speeding away in the dark night, and he keenly caught an opportunity. The Avengers' plan can be passed. Those fat pigs in Parliament will not allow foreign enemies to threaten their status. That night, Natasha, who was on a mission outside, was playing tricks on the enemy boss. The boss suddenly received a call. After Coulson made some verbal threats on the phone, the boss handed the phone to Natasha like a well-behaved child. Barton was controlled by the enemy and taken away. Natasha, who was still smiling playfully, suddenly realized the seriousness of the situation, immediately went into a rage, and killed the boss and a group of his men while being tied up. Hawkeye was the one who brought Natasha redemption. He brought Natasha into S.H.I.E.L.D., got rid of the Red Room, and gave her a future to look forward to. Now that Barton is in danger, Natasha will naturally not sit idly by. A grubby little girl rampages through the slums clutching a handful of crumpled bills. She found Dr. Bruce Banner, who was practicing medicine, and prayed that he could help her sick father. For Banner, who has 7 doctorates, being a barefoot doctor is not difficult for him. Overflowing with love, Banner was led out of the residential area by the little girl and came to a dilapidated small house outside the city. The little girl climbed up the window and escaped under his shocked gaze, leaving him in the small shabby house. Banner had realized that he had been fooled, so he complained, "Oh, I should have collected her money first. For someone who needs to escape stress, you've found a good place." The sexy Black Widow walked out from the other side of the shabby house. Using her excellent body to seduce men is one of her specialties. Simply avoiding is not a panacea. Obviously, Banner did not expect that the one who came to him this time would be a great beauty. This did not seem like General Ross's work. Banner was at a loss, looking around in the shabby house, looking through the window at the dark outside. It was very quiet outside, which made him more certain that the woman in front of him was not sent by General Ross. That guy has always been tough and would not be so soft. I guess the outside is surrounded. Only you and me. Natasha took a few steps closer, trying to make herself look more friendly. Is that little girl also an agent? You entered the industry so early. Are you here to kill me? To be honest, the person who can kill me may not be born yet. Dr. Banner was not exaggerating. The more he studied the Hulk in his body, the more he could feel the power of the Hulk. Even though Banner had 7 doctoral degrees, he still couldn't find any way to deal with the Hulk. No, I'm here to ask for your help on behalf of S.H.I.E.L.D. What if I refuse? I'll try to convince you. What if the other person in my body also refuses? Natasha's eyes flashed with panic, but she still forced herself to remain calm and said, "You haven't let him appear for more than a year. I hope you can keep it up." Natasha took out her mobile phone, showed the picture of the cosmic cube and said, "We are facing a disaster that concerns the safety of the whole world. This thing has the power to destroy the world." Banner was aroused with curiosity, put on his glasses and began to look at the picture of the cosmic cube in detail. Chapter 59, I can help you get some help. What does Nick Fury want from me? Eat him. We're hoping you can find it, it's been snatched. The gamma rays it emits are too weak for us to find, so we're hoping you can help us. So you're not here to capture monsters? Banner took off his glasses, and his conversation with Natasha became faster and faster. At least he didn't say that. If you have any doubts, you can ask him directly. Don't lie to me. Banner suddenly stepped forward, slapped his hands on the table and roared, scaring Natasha into pulling out the pistol hidden under the table. Outside the house, a large group of people were rustling and approaching quickly, and the click-click sound of firearms being loaded could still be heard vaguely. Banner looked at Natasha, who was holding the gun to his head, and took a step back with a half-smile. "Sorry, I just lost my composure." Tears flashed in Natasha's eyes, whether she was frightened or deliberately pretending to gain sympathy. After a short exchange, the two parties became initially familiar with each other. Banner was tricked into boarding S.H.I.E.L.D.'s pirate ship by Natasha in a few words. Since Stark decided not to continue building weapons, he began to move into the field of new energy. After all, the reactor has been developed and the technology is mature, it just needs to be further expanded. But later Stark was poisoned by palladium, so the project progress has been delayed. Tonight, he will replace Stark Tower with a newly developed reactor to power it, launching the first shot of clean energy. The lights in Stark Tower, which had been turned off, suddenly lit up again, and the reactor power supply was normal. The next step is to issue a press conference and promote it to the market to make Stark Industries a huge profit. Just when Stark returned to the building and opened champagne with Pepper to celebrate, the uninvited guest Coulson came to the door. Stark originally wanted to refuse the visitor, but Coulson had hacked into Jarvis's security program and took the elevator directly to the top floor. Pepper was not as reclusive as Stark, and enthusiastically handed Coulson a glass of champagne. "We want you to take a look at this." Coulson handed the laptop directly to Stark. Stark connected the computer to Jarvis and made a holographic projection. Then the video of Steve, Thor, Hulk, and Iron Man fighting appeared on the big screen. "It seems that you have to be busy again. I will fly to Washington tonight. It seems that I can only hold the press conference on new energy." As Stark's good wife, Pepper always has Stark's best interests in mind. "I thought we could have a good celebration today, or we would just ignore them." Stark apologized, but in the end, under Pepper's persuasion, the two kissed goodbye. Sometimes Pepper knows what he needs better than Stark does. "Take me to the airport, will your car be on my way?" Coulson said, "It was originally away, but Mr. Zhang Li is not here with you, so I have to send someone to see you off." "Do you mind?" Pepper said, "Then I won't bother you. Let Tony make a call. When Zhang Li gets here, he only needs to lift his feet and then put them down." "That makes sense." After studying magic theories for several months, Zhang finally had an idea on how to create a space ring. He engraved runes on the ring, and then embedded the mirror space into the ring through the magic of Karmatage. At the critical moment, Jarvis's voice suddenly sounded in the room. "Mr. Zhang Li." Boom! Zhang was startled by Jarvis's sudden voice. By accident, the compressed mirror space suddenly expanded, activating the energy of the runes and causing an explosion. "Jarvis, I'm going to tear you apart." Zhang Li raised his hand and directly gathered all the metal in the room and shaped it into a ball. "Hey, don't be angry, fuck, you better give me a reasonable explanation, big shit, or I will tear down your building." Zhang Li opened the portal, came to Stark's side angrily, and picked him up. Zhang, why are you so crazy all of a sudden? Put me down quickly." "Shit, you better give me a reasonable explanation, or I will stuff this piece of iron into your brain." Zhang Li threw an iron ball bigger than Stark's head into Stark's face. "I'm not looking for you, you're the agent behind you. Coulson, don't pretend to be deaf and dumb, you're looking for tension." Seeing that Zhang Li was really angry, Stark directly put the pot on Coulson's head. "Coulson. Mr. Zhang Li, please don't get excited. It's Loki. Loki stole the cosmic cube. I'm here to ask you about related issues." Coulson retreated strategically and quickly sorted out the situation to prevent Zhang Li from attacking him. "Loki is here." Zhang Li put Stark down, and he threw the iron ball into the mirror space. "Ahem, cough, Zhang, why are you crazy? You eat my food, live in mine, you haven't even helped me take out all the shrapnel in my body, and now you start to bully others." Hey. Zhang Li scratched his head in embarrassment and said, "I'm sorry, please understand, I'm studying magic recently. Think about it from your place, if you were killed by Jarvis at the critical moment when you were studying the arc reactor. You were suddenly startled, and then the reactor suddenly exploded. Are you angry? Am I still alive to be angry? The explosion of the arc reactor is no different than the explosion of a nuclear bomb. How about this, as compensation, I will give you a copy when I succeed in my research, as a wedding gift for you and Ms. Pepper." "What are you talking about? It's not even a start yet." Zhang Li said firmly, "I guess only Pepper can subdue you in this world, it's a matter of time." Can we talk about Loki first?" Coulson asked weakly. Zhang Li asked, "Why don't we talk about the cosmic cube first?" Zhang Li originally wanted to borrow the cosmic cube from S.H.I.E.L.D. to play with, but after seeing the Ancient One, he knew that the ability he mastered was far beyond his mental willpower. If he didn't settle down, he might become a puppet bound by power. So even though Zhang Li was particularly eager to contact the cosmic cube, he still suppressed his inner desire. In order to suppress this impulse, he even needed to use divine power to carve runes representing calmness every day to cultivate his body and mind. Mr. Zhang Li, we want to know more about Loki. You have been to Asgard before, and we hope to get your help. Stop, this is your business, it has nothing to do with me, I will not join the Avengers. However, I can help you get some external help. External help? Are you talking about Thor? He has not appeared since he returned to Asgard. Can you contact him? Zhang Li said, he broke the Rainbow Bridge to save the lives of an entire planet, but I have a way to bring him here. Chapter 60, Back to Asgard. Hi, Heimdall, long time no see. You said the Rainbow Bridge was broken, why are you still standing here watching the gate? Out of courtesy, Zhang Li did not teleport directly to the Asgard, but first came to the broken Rainbow Bridge. It is my duty, I dare not slack off. Okay, dedication and professionalism are worth learning. I brought you Chinese food from Earth. Zhang Li took out a food box from the mirror space. Heimdall did not refuse. After taking the food box, he said, Thor is angry about your leaving without saying goodbye. Angry? What is he angry about? You found a way to return to Earth, but you didn't take him with you. He came to ask me about Jane Foster every once in a while, which shows how much he misses her. Heimdall's eyes can inspect the 9 realms, and now they have become Thor's tool to understand Jane. Doesn't he need to quell the war in the 9 realms? Where is the time to go to Earth? Besides, I'm here now, right? Hunting Loki, he doesn't have time to see Jane. Jane is not in New York City. That's none of my business. Zhang Li walked on the streets of Asgard, with no obstacles along the way. The enthusiastic Asgardians welcomed Zhang Li's arrival. After the last sacrifice, he lived in Asgard for 3 months and asked Odin for runes. Long time no see, Your Highness, Queen of Gods. Zhang Li was about to enter the Asgard when he met Queen of Gods Frigga, who was also going to the Asgard. I haven't seen Zhang Li for a long time. You are more elegant. The more you know, the more you are. I spend all day with books, so I have a bit of literary air. I brought you some gifts, some food, some perfumes, jewelry, etc. There are a lot of things, so you probably have to ask someone to move them. The food alone can fill up a room, and the variety and taste are much richer than the food in Asgard. After Queen of Gods Frigga thanked them, the two walked into the Asgard together. Odin and Thor had been waiting here for a long time. Zhang Li, you are so disloyal. You ran away by yourself. You still say you are my best brother. As Heimdall said, Thor was very angry. Thor, pay attention to etiquette. Queen Frigga scolded Thor, and Zhang Li followed and said, yes, you are a prince, you should be tolerant. In front of his mother, Thor couldn't get angry, so he could only give Zhang Li a threatening look. God King Odin, I'm here to take Thor to Midgard. Odin said, you have changed a lot. I am worried that you will be swollen after you leave. He could naturally feel that Zhang Li left Asgard. He thought Zhang Li couldn't stand the loneliness. Thank you for the previous teachings of the God King. Odin was very satisfied with Zhang Li's changes, the magic of camouflage is indeed excellent. You can come and take Thor to Midgard and really help me a lot. Although the Asgardians call themselves gods, they are not good at space magic. On the contrary, camouflage's magic is to borrow power from the dimensional demon and to protect the time gem. They have many magics about space and time. If Zhang Li didn't come, he would have to mobilize dark energy to send Thor to Earth, which would not be an easy task for him. Father, do you agree that I can go to Earth? Thor was a little excited. The situation in the 9 realms is still stable for the time being. It is enough to suppress it with Volstagg, and you have a more important mission to complete. After briefly describing what Loki did on Earth, Zhang Li left a lot of gifts he brought to Asgard, and took Thor directly to Stark Tower. Zhang Li, your magic is really convenient and better than the Rainbow Bridge. Thor, who always felt that magic was useless, envied the portal magic sincerely, but it was a pity that he didn't have a strong magic talent. Coulson, please lead the way, we can talk on the way. Coulson asked, can't you just draw a circle and take us there directly? I haven't been to S.H.I.E.L.D., I don't have coordinates in my mind, and no one knows what accidents will happen when using magic on an unknown target. The first time Zhang Li learned the portal, he wanted to return to his home in the void. Then he experienced flooding, avalanches, fires, high-altitude falls, etc. After finally being able to cross the Sea of Stars and reach the Earth from Asgard, Zhang Li tried to return to the void again. This time he could clearly feel that he had been able to break the barrier of time, but was still blocked by a powerful energy. He guessed that it was Loki's trick. Cassandra can easily travel between the multiverses with the mysterious ring. Except for the fact that his mental will may be a little weak, he must be a crushing existence in other aspects. He would never believe that there was no interference from the mastermind behind the scenes. Stark said, "You guys go first. I'm not interested in pre-war team parties, unless it's a pool party." "Are you not interested in being the team leader?" Zhang Li asked. Stark shrugged, "Come on, I'm Stark. Your little group is nothing new to me. Facing you guys all day is more painful than killing me." "Well, it seems you want to stay up late to study your armor again, right?" Zhang Li drew a rune representing protection, healing, and new strength in the air, and pushed it into Stark's body with divine power. "What kind of magic is this? I feel refreshed and can fight for another 30,000 rounds." Thor said, "It's the rune, the divine pattern of Asgard. I didn't expect Zhang Li to be able to control the rune." "How did you do it? Didn't your father tell you?" "I suffered a lot for this. Being pierced through the chest by Gungnir and hung on the world tree is not a good memory." "Hey, don't worry about that for now." Stark interrupted, "Can this rune always work? Can it be made into a special tool like an alchemist? I can give one to Pepper when I propose to her." "Of course, if there is any powerful magic rune that can be engraved on my armor, I can consider giving you some shares of Stark Industries." "Have you forgotten how I got here?" I was interrupted by Jarvis. "The experiment failed and the house was blown up. You have to tell the servants to clean a room for me again." Jarvis' voice sounded, "Sorry, Mr. Zhang Li, I'm just responsible for passing the message. There are no extra electronic devices in your room, so I can't know the situation in the house." Jarvis wanted to push the pot to Stark. Coulson came at the wrong time. Stark said, "I don't take the blame. Sorry, it's all my fault." Coulson had no choice but to take the blame. "No, it's Loki's fault, I'll settle the score with him." Zhang Li said that I can't beat the god of future stories, can't I threaten a small god of tricks? Chapter 61, Shield Aircraft Carrier. On the Shield Aircraft Carrier, Steve and Banner's planes arrived one after another. "Let me guess, are these two gods from outside the Earth? They look no different from ordinary people." Black Widow Natasha took Banner and Steve to Zhang Li and the others. "Dr. Banner looks even more ordinary, but I guess he must have scared you. People are shaped by gods according to their own appearance." Zhang Li and Thor said one by one. Natasha's smile froze, and her good mood was instantly gone. "I'm Steve Rogers, I heard that there are two charlatans in the team." Steve stretched out his hand, but Zhang Li and Thor did not shake hands with him. "Mr. Popsicle, there are two gods with divine power standing in front of you. You don't have to contribute your faith, but the word charlatan is indeed a bit offensive." "Oh, really? Sorry, I know nothing about charlatans. Can you show them off so that I can see?" Steve asked seriously, with his hands on his waist, as if he was full of confidence in himself. Thor straightened his chest and walked to Steve to look him in the face, then raised his hand to summon Mjolnir to fly past Steve's ear. "Wow, a remote-controlled flying hammer. I've seen remote-controlled airplanes on the street." "Ha ha ha." Thor proved that people can really laugh when they are speechless. "Doesn't he know that I asked you to dig him out of the refrigerator?" Zhang Li looked at Natasha and asked. Natasha shrugged, and Zhang Li said, "I bet $10. Steve, you will lose $10 to Fury today. Counting my $10, you will lose $20 today. Wow, so your divine power is to predict the future." "Maybe, who knows?" Seeing that no one seemed to notice him, Banner raised his hand to interrupt, and said timidly, "I am Bruce Banner." Then he looked at Zhang Li and said, "You just said that I am mediocre, which is a bit offensive. I have 7 doctoral degrees." "I know, but I like Hulk more." "Do you like me, Hulk?" "Don't bother me." Dr. Banner's chest suddenly swelled and turned green, and Hulk roared angrily at Zhang Li. After roaring, there was a trace of confusion in his eyes, and before he could make any more moves, he was imprisoned in Banner's body again. and Natasha and a group of agents beside him had already pointed their guns at Banner. Steve, who had learned a little about the information, was also shocked. Only Thor asked in confusion, "Is there a demon sealed in his body?" "Ha ha ha ha." Banner breathed heavily, not caring about the suit with the collar bursting, and hurriedly checked the heart rate watch on his wrist. "The heart rate is normal, this situation has never happened before." Banner didn't know what happened. "It seems that Hulk is not very hospitable." "Don't worry, I just said hello to Hulk." "Can you communicate with Hulk?" Banner looked at Zhang Li, with a flash of heat in his eyes. Natasha put away the pistol and said, "Mr. Zhang Li, I hope you will notify us before you make any big moves next time. It's just a greeting, it's not a big deal." Zhang Li had seen 2 Hulk variants in the void before, but because his strength did not allow it, he did not explore the genetic status of the human Hulk. Just now, he felt it carefully again. The genes in Banner can indeed be copied, and he did not notice the so-called under all things. As previously speculated, not all Hulks can be favored by under all things. "So can you really communicate with Hulk?" Banner tried to communicate with Hulk, but with little success. Zhang Li could communicate with Hulk, so he thought he could ask Zhang Li for help and find a way to get Hulk out of his body. Zhang Li said, "Dr. Banner, you have 7 doctoral degrees, and you should have some guesses about Hulk's situation. It's as difficult to separate the 2 of you as it is to take out the mitochondria of every cell in your body. Is there no way?" Banner sighed, feeling depressed. "Of course there is." Banner's eyes lit up again. "But you can't do it." "Who can do it?" Banner has been looking for a way for 9 years and has not found a way. Now Zhang Li has a clue, how can he give up hope? "Many people can do it, and I can do it, but we don't want to kill Hulk because we can't bear the consequences. Hulk is a part of Banner, and killing Hulk is equivalent to killing Banner." Although Zhang Li can only erase Hulk's consciousness, he guesses that after erasing Hulk's consciousness, Banner should also slowly become Hulk. The best way is to let Hulk and Banner's consciousness merge and accept each other. But Zhang Li felt that Banner was not ready yet. Of course, the universe is so vast that there must be other ways to have the best of both worlds, such as finding the absorbing man, but the absorbing man in this world does not seem to be able to absorb the power of Hulk. What will it cost to destroy Hulk? Eradicated from this world. Cut to the void by the Time Mutation Administration. It seems that I have to find a way myself. Banner just thought that Zhang Li was unwilling to help, after all, they just met by chance. Buzz buzz buzz. At this moment, the aircraft carrier suddenly made a buzzing sound, and then the fuselage slowly rose into the air, and finally changed the surface color through science and technology, and merged with the clouds. Steve was speechless at the shock of this scene. The takeoff of this aircraft carrier was like a piece of land rising out of thin air, which had a great impact on him. "It's windy outside, let's go in and talk." Natasha led everyone into the operation center of the ship. Steve was dazzled by all kinds of high-tech products along the way. When he saw Fury, Steve took out a banknote from his pocket, stuffed Fury with $10, and then turned back and handed Zhang Li $10. Fury walked up to Zhang Li and asked, "I bet with him yesterday that he should make up for the history of technological development." "What did you bet with him?" "I bet he would lose $10 to you." "It's our first meeting. I'm very happy to work with you, Mr. Zhang Li." Fury stretched out his little black hand. "How happy?" You are too happy too early. I said I don't like your black braised egg." Zhang Li's words made Fury's already dark face even darker. He looked at Carlson next to him and asked with his eyes. "Didn't you say that this guy has changed a lot? Why does it feel like there is no change?" Carlson shrugged helplessly. "I don't know what's going on. He was very polite to us." "It's a pleasure to work with you, Agent Hill." Zhang Li walked past Fury and shook hands with Agent Hill behind him. Agent Hill glanced at Fury, then smiled and stretched out his hand to shake Zhang Li's hand gently. Fury felt insulted. The $10 in his hand didn't taste good anymore. Chapter 62, Loki appears. Carlson said you can predict the future, is that true? See the picture through the crystal ball like a fortune teller. An excellent agent will never miss any opportunity to get intelligence, and every word of Hill seems to have been carefully calculated. So far, S.H.I.E.L.D's understanding of Zhang Li's strength and the abilities he controls are still speculation. Is that what Carlson reported? Almost. That's too far off. Zhang Li said, although I am a magician, my capture of the future is limited to short-term predictions of good and bad luck, and I am far from being able to observe the future. The basic magic of camouflage is not enough to support Zhang Li's exploration of time and space. Zhang Li has not yet mastered the combination of the 24 runes. Zhang Li has many abilities, but his strength has not yet reached the level of predicting the future. Otherwise, he would have taken Rita and Reina out of the void long ago. Then do you predict what will happen to us next? First there will be internal conflicts, and then we will be defeated one by the enemy. Zhang Li was indeed right. Although they successfully captured Loki, it was actually Loki's conspiracy to disintegrate them. In the end, they will be separated by Loki's conspiracy, but when the decisive battle comes, they will still reunite on the battlefield. I thought you might need to hold some ceremony or something, at least recite the mysterious magic spell twice. That's your stereotype of wizards. That doesn't make sense. Steve said, we have the same goal, what can make us disagree? Unlike Steve, Banner and Thor don't think they have the same goal. Banner has been fighting wits and courage with the military for nearly 10 years. He understands that the so-called officials have their own considerations, and they will never reveal their goals in full, so Banner never trusted Fury at the beginning. The reason why Banner came here is mainly because he was interested in the Cosmic Cube, and he also hopes to use the hands of S.H.I.E.L.D. to find a way to solve the Hulk. Thor, he has only one purpose, to bring Loki and the Cosmic Cube back to Asgard. The energy of the Cosmic Cube can repair the Rainbow Bridge, and Loki needs to be punished by Odin. So they have their own agenda. Steve, who noticed the subtle atmosphere, looked at Fury and said. Zhang Li said, the thoughts of the old times are so simple and unpretentious. So far, Steve Rogers has not realized that Fury may have lied to him. He is also the king of agents after all. Although he is very watery, you must never doubt an agent's ability to lie and mislead. Okay, everyone, I asked you to come to work. The Earth is in danger. I hope everyone can be united and put aside personal prejudices first, okay? Seeing that the situation is not developing well, Fury immediately shifted everyone's attention to the enemy. Next is Thor's introduction to Loki, and then everyone plans an action plan. According to the information provided by S.H.I.E.L.D., Dr. Banner analyzed that Loki may need a large amount of iridium in order to control the energy of the Cosmic Cube. Sure enough, they finally found the traces of Loki and Barton by tracking the collector of iridium. At a grand banquet in Germany, Loki violently inserted the information-sharing instrument into the eye socket of the iridium collector. Barton on the other side had sneaked into the collector's safe, opened the safe with the eye mask information shared by Loki, and successfully took out a large amount of iridium. After the operation, Loki should have fled the scene immediately, but he had another bold plan in his mind. He separated his incarnation and drove a group of mortals to the square, then revealed the costume of the god of tricks, making himself look bright and majestic. Kneel down. The scepter knocked on the ground, and the sound was like a bell. Loki was really like a god king at this moment, showing his majesty in front of mortals. The noisy, chaotic, weak mortals who were busy escaping were shocked by Loki, and they were silent, slowly kneeling on the ground. Loki looked at this scene with satisfaction, and the smile on his face became more arrogant and proud. He enjoyed the worship of the crowd as if he were on the throne. Aren't you born to be like this? The temptation of freedom has deprived you of the joy of life. You long to be enslaved. You are madly pursuing power and status, but in fact you are full of slavery and will succumb to your ruler sooner or later. In the whole square, even if some people were angry, no one dared to refute, and the silence was terrifying. But there must be people who are not afraid of death and will stand up. A little old man with white hair and beard, thin and weak body raised his head and straightened his waist, slowly stood up, with a determination to die, looking at Loki fearlessly. But it won't be someone like you. The voice was not very loud, but it was as firm as a mountain. Loki said, I am unique. The old man sneered, I have seen many people as shameless as you. There was only Loki among the kneeling crowd, but this little old man stood up and challenged his authority. The old man was so weak, and he was not as gorgeous, tall, majestic, and powerful as Loki. But his few words shook Loki's position. The 1,000-year-old humble room was lit up by a light. The old man was like a weak and swaying candle in the dark night, illuminating the future for all living beings. Feeling the swaying of people's hearts, Loki remembered that when he was in Asgard, he was also not recognized. Laufey abandoned him, and Odin didn't like him either, but he was obviously a king, so why should he be laughed at and become a laughing stock? Look at this stupid old man, he will be your role model for resisting me. The Mind Scepter released energy attacks, and the old man was about to die. At this time, Steve, who was wearing a battle suit, arrived in time with a round shield. The energy beam rebounded from the round shield hit Loki instead. The last time I came to Germany, I also killed a big bad guy who was above all living beings. Now, Captain America walked through the crowd confidently, while Loki was crawling on the ground. This round was installed by Captain America. Just an outdated soldier. Loki slowly stood up and taunted. I am not outdated. Loki, put down your weapons and surrender. Natasha drove the fighter plane and aimed the muzzle at Loki. Advanced science and technology versus mythological figures, who is the outdated one? Swish! The Mind Scepter directly fired an energy beam, forcing Natasha's fighter to retreat. Loki was in the crowd, and he was sure that Natasha would not open fire and hurt innocent people. After Loki opened fire, the crowd who had been kneeling quietly felt their lives were threatened, so they panicked again, screaming and running away. Captain America wanted to step forward to capture Loki, but Loki stabbed him in the lower abdomen with the end of the scepter and retreated to the side. Chapter 63, The First Meeting of the Big Three. Captain America, in pain, took the round shield in his hand, threw it out, and hit Loki, but it had little effect. The two wrestled again. Perhaps because he had been frozen for too long, Captain 55's movements seemed very stiff, and he was easily subdued by Loki and knocked to the ground. Loki put the scepter on Captain America's forehead and threatened, kneel down. Captain America, who could not bear the humiliation, held the scepter and tried to fight back again, but he still couldn't do anything to Loki. After a few punches, he was knocked to the ground by Loki again. That guy is too cunning. Natasha flew in the air in a fighter plane, aiming the gun at Loki, but couldn't find the opportunity to attack. Agent Romanoff, did you miss me? Tony Stark's voice suddenly sounded in the communication channel. Boom! The sonic boom sounded, and a small light point approached quickly in the dark night. Iron Man arrived, without any extra movements or words, his palm flashed, and the gunfire directly hit Loki. This level of firepower could not hurt Loki, who was a god, but Loki, contrary to his usual behavior, raised his hands and gave up resistance. Captain America saw this scene in his heart, but Stark and Natasha thought Loki was just like that. After the three of them handcuffed Loki, they set off on the return journey with the Mind Scepter. That guy behaved abnormally, there might be some conspiracy. Steve found Stark and expressed his concerns. Oh, really? Isn't it because I stole your limelight? Uniform boy. It is well known that Stark has two major skills, fickleness and mouth cannon. Even Pepper can only restrain his fickleness, but has no way to deal with his mouth cannon. Old man, you are good at bodybuilding exercises. Stark added this sentence. Steve, who was already embarrassed, was furious. If it weren't for the overall situation, he really wanted to tear down Stark. Boom! Thunder flashed in the sky, and Thor approached quickly. Natasha looked at the thunder in the sky and said, I guess he is probably lost. Originally, they set out together. Thor flew very fast with Mjolnir, but they arrived late. Another reckless man who doesn't understand science. Stark's words not only affected Thor, but also Steve. Fury didn't say you were coming. There are so many things he didn't tell you. Rocky landed on the top of the plane, and the cabin door opened. He saw a robot raised his hand to him. Without saying a word, he pushed the other party away with a hammer, and then grabbed Loki's collar. Hello brother, long time no see. Thor didn't say anything, and jumped off the plane with Loki. Someone dared to contact Stark's prisoners. This guy needs a lesson. Stark jumped off the plane directly. Is this part of the plan? Steve looked at Natasha who was driving the fighter plane and asked. Obviously not. Shit. Steve cursed and jumped off the plane directly. Bang. When Steve got close to the ground, he curled up and used his round shield as a buffer, smashing a big hole in the ground. His round shield was made of vibranium, which could rebound energy beams and absorb kinetic energy. In addition, Steve's body was strengthened by super serum, so the fall from high altitude did not cause much damage to him. "We thought you were dead." Thor had a complicated expression. He was happy that Loki was alive, and angry that Loki did not go home, but wanted to invade the Earth. "I am indeed dead," Loki replied calmly. He killed Laufey with his own hands, but he did not get Odin's approval, and was denied by Odin. The moment he let go of Gungnir, the former Loki was dead. Thor looked at Loki's eyes without any emotion, and he panicked. "Loki, mother misses you very much, come home with me." The appearance of Queen Frigga appeared in Loki's mind. In the whole Asgard, she was the only one who treated Loki sincerely. Although she was not his biological mother, she was even better. But before Loki could speak, Thor, who was expecting Loki's response, was knocked out by Iron Man Stark. "Wow, you should solve your own problems first." Stark was angry that Thor didn't give him face, and Thor was angry that Stark interrupted the communication between him and Loki. Both of them were arrogant and could not tolerate any sand in their eyes. They started fighting in the grove directly after a disagreement. Thor knocked Stark away with a hammer, and Stark retaliated with a cannon. Both of them were just trying to vent their anger, but they really got angry when they fought. Boom! Thor summoned the power of thunder and hit Stark's armor. The electromagnetic shielding principle of the Faraday cage is that when an object is wrapped in metal, lightning attacking the metal will not hurt the object wrapped in metal. Thor's attack not only failed to hurt Stark, but also made Stark's armor burst with energy. "Thanks for the charge." Stark directly converted the lightning that Thor attacked him into an energy beam and returned it to Thor. Thor's anger grew stronger and stronger, and he jumped up with Mjolnir in his hand. Steve arrived at the critical moment, and he stood in front of Stark and raised the vibranium round shield. Bang! Mjolnir came into contact with the round shield, and a huge energy explosion spread, directly raising the small woods within 100 meters to the ground. The three people were hit by the energy and flew backwards. Their minds became clear again, and their anger gradually subsided. "Does anyone want to continue playing? I can stay with you all day." Steve spoke first. Stark and Thor didn't say much this time. The battle stopped, and the first meeting of the three giants of the original Avengers ended. Loki did not escape while the three of them were fighting, but stayed where he was, waiting to be captured. "Loki's behavior is too abnormal, what do you think?" Mr. Zhang. After listening to Natasha's report, Fury, who was far across the ocean, looked at Zhang Li. "When it comes to understanding Loki, no one here can compare to Zhang Li." "I don't think it's important, but you think it's important." Zhang Li wore a pair of glasses and carefully read the history of magic in his hand without even raising his head. Fury looked at Agent Hill with a dark face and turned his head to motion for her to ask. Hill asked, "Mr. Zhang, what do you think Loki is holding in his stomach?" Zhang calmly opened a page of the book and said, "Miss Hill, don't be like the black braised egg in everything. He is just an asshole. He always thinks that he can control everything. In fact, he is the one who is controlled. Give it to others. I don't even know how to be a puppet, but I'm still the king of agents." Zhang Li's words seemed to be ridiculing, but as Agents Doucetier and Fury heard something different. "What do you mean? Are you saying that someone is controlling the direction of all events behind the scenes?" Zhang Li showed a row of big white teeth towards Fury. "Aren't you very smart? Can't the king of agents even solve this problem?" "Why? I just don't say it, I just play, I just want to whet your appetite. Guess what, I will piss you off." Chapter 64, Contradictions Revealed. Loki was imprisoned in a cage. The special cage was originally prepared to prevent Hulk from going on a rampage, but unexpectedly it was used to imprison gods first. The Mind Scepter was studied and analyzed by Stark and Banner in their own ways. Zhang Li's eyes never left the Mind Gem on the Mind Scepter from beginning to end. The Mind Gem has very powerful energy and can protect, modify, manipulate, or read the mind, and can enhance the user's mental strength, mental will, and psychic ability. And mental willpower is exactly the shortcoming of tension. Judging from the ability controlled by Zhang Li, his strength should be comparable to that of Heavenly Father. However, due to his weak mental willpower, his strength is always one step away from Odin and others. Although it is only one step away, the performance of strength is completely different. The reason why he studied the Space Naja all day long was because he wanted to use it to exercise his spiritual willpower. Unfortunately, although this method can make his mental control more detailed, it has little effect on training his mental willpower. Now that the Mind Stone is right in front of him, and the opportunity to reach the sky is so close, how can he resist this temptation? Zhang unknowingly took a few steps closer to the psychic scepter. At this time, Coulson walked in and said, "Director, I have tried all methods, but Loki still refuses to say anything." "Thank you for your hard work, Coulson." Black-braced Dan looked at Zhang Li. He wanted to speak but instead looked at Natasha. Natasha looked at Fury in confusion, and Fury turned his head and curled his lips in the direction of tension. After Natasha came to her senses, she asked Zhang Li, "Mr. Consultant, do you have any good ideas or suggestions?" Fury showed no expression on the surface, but he was already complaining in his heart, "I asked you to seduce him with your beauty, can't you speak softly and softly?" Agent Hill was right next to him, but Fury asked Natasha to ask Zhang Li. This was obviously a test. Zhang Li moved his gaze away from the Mind Stone, looked at Black Braised Egg and said, "This is why I hate you. You are always full of wariness and temptation towards people, and always want to control everything. But I have said it before, you can't control anything. Is Black Widow beautiful? In one word, she is very beautiful. As a normal man, Zhang Yan naturally has desire for her, but having desire does not mean that he will be confused. Who would give up a brand new car for a bus? Natasha is like the shared bicycles Fury places in the city. There is a fee, so you have to scan the QR code first. Mr. Consultant, I didn't spend money just to hear you scold me. Can you give me some useful information?" Fury was sure that he had not provoked tension, but why did the other party hate him so much? "Isn't Thor right here? You didn't ask her first and he came to ask me instead." Thor was still thinking about whether he could take advantage of Loki's imprisonment to find Jane. Suddenly, everyone was staring at him, and he didn't know how to answer for a while. "What's wrong? I'm not familiar with Loki." "Everyone." Sol blushed, "Although he is my brother, he has always teased me. Besides, we haven't seen each other for 2 years, and he has become a stranger to me. How do you think Loki got his title as the god of trickery? Sol was teased by him every day." "Everyone, okay, you're a brainless person. Why would Odin want to pass the position of God King to a person like you who is full of muscles? Loki is obviously more suitable. Although not biological." Fury looked at Zhang Li again. Zhang Li waved his hand and said, "I've only known Loki for a few days, and Thor doesn't even know about it. What kind of flowers can I tell? You use your magic to predict the future and tell fortunes. Aren't these the magician's specialty? You can even reveal my trump card, but you tell me you can't?" Fury really wanted to strangle Zhang Li to death. "Loki has learned magic for more than 1,000 years, and you want me to count him out? Isn't this bullying an honest person? Zhang Li's main theme is, 'I'm a hen, don't mess with me.'" Fury couldn't open his head and look at it anyway. Did you know that the right of explanation belongs to Zhang Li? In the end, Natasha's acting skills were incredible and she used 2 small pearls to deceive useful information from Loki. Loki wanted to use the Hulk inside Banner to complete a certain plan. "Fury, when you asked Zhang Li just now, why did he have no acting skills at all? I suspect you are playing me. It was during the time when Natasha was playing Loki that Stark had Jarvis hack into S.H.I.E.L.D's security network while studying the Mind Scepter. Steve also took the opportunity to sneak into S.H.I.E.L.D's warehouse and discovered that Fury was researching a large number of technological weapons without telling him. The Cosmic Cube is not used to study clean energy at all. You are using it to make weapons without telling me." Steve smashed the weapon he took from the warehouse on the table, and at this moment Stark also successfully invaded S.H.I.E.L.D's security network. The evidence is conclusive. Banner was the only one watching everything blankly. Damn fuck, am I the only one who is really doing serious work? Faced with everyone's condemnation, Fury decisively pointed the finger at Thor and Zhang Li. "The arrival of Thor and Zhang Li made me realize that the Earth is exposed to the sight of all the major forces in the universe, but we do not have the ability to deal with it. Once the war starts, we will become someone else's prey." When Sol, who was watching the show, heard this, he immediately became angry. When you open the Cosmic Cube, it is equivalent to announcing to the universe that you are ready for a higher-level cosmic war. That's why visitors from the universe frequently come to the Earth. Zhang Li smiled slightly. "Did you misunderstand something? I told you that you couldn't grasp it. Besides, I am originally from Earth. Although it is not the Earth of this universe. And haven't you already come into contact with the Kree and Skrulls? Zhang Li thought to himself, I remember that Black Braised Dan's wife is a Skrull, an alien. I don't know if it's done now. Should I scare him? Fury saw the nervous look in his eyes and decisively chose to shut up. But Stark, Steve, and Thor were already aroused. You said something to me, and the little mouth was as sweet as honey. Natasha, please send Dr. Banner back to rest first. In this atmosphere, Fury was really afraid that the Hulk and Banner would suddenly jump out and give him a big blow. Where are you going? Banner asked, do you have a second cage that is the same as Loki's? Fury immediately started to explain in a hurry, I just want to prevent. In case of what? Kill me before the Hulk shows up. Feeling Hulk's resentment, Fury retreated subconsciously, and Stark and Steve, who were arguing, also stopped bickering. They have learned about the Hulk, and they are afraid that even cannonballs can't kill him. Banner said, don't be delusional, I tried it, it didn't work. Chapter 65, Coulson is dying. When I was at my lowest point, I was so desperate that I tried to kill myself with a bullet, but Hulk spit it out. No one has ever been able to understand Banner, and there are countless bitter waters in his heart that need to be poured out. I became immortal. Then I devoted myself to helping other people, and we were fine until you dragged me into this gathering of monsters and put everyone in danger. And he also unknowingly held the spiritual scepter on the experimental table. You want to know how I suppress the anger inside me? Agent Romanoff. Fury opened his wallet and held the pistol at his waist. Everyone was alert and looked at the psychic scepter in Banner's hand. Zhang Li was particularly focused because he also wanted to see if Banner would be affected by the Mind Stone. Sure enough, in his sight, the light of the Mind Stone flickered imperceptibly for a moment, and then Zhang Li saw the Hulk's figure seemed to be reflected in Banner's eyes. Did he? The tracking program completed by Banner and Stark reacted. Banner put down his scepter and returned to the computer desk, and the reflection of Hulk in his eyes disappeared instantly. Interesting. Zhang Li took advantage of everyone's distraction and exited the room without leaving a trace. Because he has sensed that Hawkeye has aimed his explosive arrows at this place. Oh no! At this moment, Banner also saw that the location displayed on the tracking program was on the SHIELD spacecraft, and he instantly realized that the enemy had lurked in. Boom! Sure enough, before he could explain the situation, the spaceship was attacked, and now everyone reacted without him having to say it. Steve and Stark went to investigate the engine problem. It was important to deal with the enemy, but the lives of the entire ship were more important. Natasha and Banner were affected by the explosion and fell into the next floor at the same time. Banner was dizzy from the fall. The heart rate on his watch was soaring rapidly, and Banner's body gradually expanded and turned green. It is not difficult to guess from his painful expression that Banner is having a mental tug with Hulk, and whoever wins will take the initiative. Banner was obviously at a disadvantage because he was affected by the Mind Stone. Are you okay? Natasha panicked. The honey trap may work for Banner, but it's a different story for Hulk. However, what she responded to was the roar of a big green man. Roar! Hulk was chasing Natasha in a small space. Fury immediately asked Hill to notify the flying combatants to send fighter planes to support. Natasha luckily hid in a small space and escaped the Hulk's pursuit. Hulk rushed into the warehouse where the fighter planes were parked and encountered Thor. Thor also wanted to try to persuade Hulk to wake up, but Hulk, who only had the mind of a child, just wanted to vent his anger and wouldn't listen at all. Thor knocked the Hulk flying with one hammer, but the Hulk was rough and thick-skinned, and his jaw that had just been smashed recovered almost instantly. Roar! Hulk also wanted to pick up the hammer on the ground and hit Thor, but he couldn't lift Mjolnir at all. He had no choice but to pick up the plane and hit Sol. At this time, the fighter planes sent by Fury opened fire on the Hulk through the hole blown up by Hawkeye. After Hulk was enraged, he jumped on the plane despite a hail of bullets, tore open the shield, took out the pilot, and threw him out. Fortunately, the pilot's parachute was still there, otherwise he would have been reduced to a pulp if he fell from a high altitude. Hulk vented his anger on the fighter plane. The plane's circuit was damaged, detonating the ammunition in the cabin, and an explosion occurred. Hulk also fell directly into the sky with the explosion. After Thor came to his senses, he immediately rushed to the place where Loki was being held. When we arrived that day, Loki was strutting out of the cage. "Loki, don't run!" Thor pounced directly on Loki. He had been tricked by Loki countless times, but this time he also failed to recognize Loki's illusion. It wasn't until he passed through Loki's body and was locked in a cage that he realized that he had been tricked. "Goodbye, my dear brother. Don't move." Loki was about to press the release button, but Coulson suddenly pointed the high-tech cannon at Loki. Bah! Before Coulson could react, Loki had penetrated his chest from behind with the Mind Scepter. It turns out that Loki who tried to press the button was also an illusion. The real Loki had retrieved the Mind Scepter and returned here at some point. No. Thor tried to smash the cage with Mjolnir, but only made slight cracks on it. Loki ignored Thor's anger. He waved his hand and gently pressed the release button, and Thor was thrown directly from the spaceship. "You're going to lose, it's destined." Just when Loki was proud, the dying Coulson suddenly started taunting. "What? Your heroes are torn apart. What else can threaten me?" "You have no faith," Coulson said. "I don't really recognize it." Boom! Coulson didn't wait for Loki to finish speaking, and directly triggered the cannon lying in front of him, blasting Loki away with one shot. No one in the East would stand stupidly in front of a cannon. "Mr. Zhang Li. Stop talking, Coulson, you're going to die. Tell me what's the secret of your safe." Zhang Li joked. "Oh, I'm going to die, and you're still thinking about my property. Smile before you die, maybe you will be reborn with a blessed child in the next life. Besides, my price for saving people is very high. How much money can you save from your annual salary of more than 200,000 yuan? I'm afraid it's not enough." When Coulson heard that he could still be saved, his eyes suddenly lit up. "Oh, Mr. Zhang Li, if you can save me, please act quickly. My hands have lost all feeling, and my vision is blurry. I seem to have seen Satan. It is better to die than to live." Coulson now wants Zhang Li to take action quickly, and he is willing to spend all his family wealth. Anyway, agents don't have much time to enjoy themselves. They seem to have quite a lot of vacations, but they are often called back midway. "Wait a minute." Reaching to his side, his hand reached into Ancient One's library through teleportation magic and grabbed a magic book. Zhang Li opened the catalogue of the magic book and found the magic he wanted. Then he waved his hand to control the metal to shape into a vague human shape. Lying next to Coulson. "I need a hair of yours." Tension pulled off a piece of Coulson's hair, then turned the magic rune with one hand and muttered a spell silently. Transfiguration. After the tension casting was completed, a puppet exactly like Coulson appeared next to him. "Coulson, follow me now, damn fuck, black braised eggs, I resigned, you can go and have fun by yourself." "Coulson, what? Say it again. Does this have anything to do with saving me?" "It's okay, but I won't save you if you don't tell me. Remember to speak with emotion." "Mom, fake. Black braised egg. I'm resigning, you can go and have fun by yourself." Coulson already knew what Zhang Li wanted to do, he wanted to disgust Fury. Coulson said silently, "Sorry director, I just want to live." "Mom mess with fake, black braised eggs. I resigned, you can go and have fun by yourself." The person next to him imitated Coulson's words in a decent manner. Coulson had black lines all over his head. "Can you save me now? I feel like my blood is going to drain out." Zhang Li returned the magic book to Karmatage, and then injected the healing power into Coulson to repair his damaged organs. "Ouch, so comfortable. Coulson, don't make that ecstasy sound." With the black lines on his head full of tension, this guy doesn't seem to be pure. After the healing was completed, Zhang Li directly sent Coulson into the mirror space. Chapter 66, Where is the tension? Stark and Steve immediately inspected the number 3 engine that was exploded by Patton. However, Steve has been sleeping for 70 years and has no clue about complex circuits. In order to restore the engine power, Stark chose to trust Steve and drove the steel armor to personally push the fan blades to rotate. But Steve encountered an obstacle. The invaders controlled by Loki stopped Steve in his tracks. This soldier really slept for too long, and the battle was a bit sloppy. Even 2 agents couldn't solve it. Stark was almost smashed into pieces by Engine 3. Although he escaped by chance, his armor was also severely damaged. Here Natasha was huddled in the corner, her heart still full of fear of the Hulk. When she knew that Barton was approaching her, she had to gather her emotions and go find Barton. Both of them have the extreme physique of a normal human being, and both are martial artists who are proficient in all kinds of fighting. For a moment, they were inseparable, and they were indistinguishable. Barton, wake up! Natasha used her flexible body to lock Barton, but Barton twisted her body and hit the iron railing, causing pain. Natasha could only give up her locking technique and threw Barton out the moment she let go. Barton's center of gravity was unstable, causing his head to hit the iron railing. His brain was injured. His consciousness broke away from Loki's control and he briefly regained rationality. Natasha took advantage of Barton's dazed moment and kicked him directly on the head, knocking him out. Fury came to the dying Coulson. This powerful agent helped him a lot. Coulson, do you have anything else to say? I'm right here. Coulson, whose eyes were already lifeless, suddenly stared at Fury and raised his middle finger. Fuck, black braised eggs, I resigned, you can go and have fun by yourself. After doing this, Coulson died completely, but the middle finger never dropped. Fuck. Fury was frightened by Coulson's sudden move, and when he thought about it, he was speechless. Is this the Coulson I know? Did I assign too many tasks and this guy wanted to vent before he died? Fury reached out and closed Coulson's eyes. Coulson, your death will not be in vain. After Fury stood up, he put his finger on the headset and said, everyone, Agent Coulson has left us forever. Natasha, who had just subdued Barton, and Steve, and Stark, who had repaired Engine 3, fell silent after hearing the news. And Loki had quietly left on a shield fighter plane. The Avengers fell apart, and the corners of his mouth turned up in a satisfied smile. The Counselor defeated Tien Hanzi by entering the game with his own body, and Loki thought he was invincible. He is about to meet the arrival of Kirita's army. And in such a short period of time, whether the Avengers can find him or not is one thing. Thor, who fell by the river, silently raised Mjolnir. He felt remorseful for Loki's behavior. He didn't know when his brother actually embarked on a villainous path. Hulk fell from the sky and smashed a big hole in the roof of a warehouse, and there was also a big pit in the ground. After Hulk was injured, Banner's consciousness once again gained the upper hand, and his green body slowly shrank back into Banner. The old security guard in the warehouse witnessed all this and thoughtfully found clothes for the naked Banner. I didn't hurt anyone, did I? Banner asked while putting on his pants. No, I'm the only one around here. Guarding such a large area by himself, this little old man is pretty cool. Fury threw a set of blood-stained Captain America cards in front of Stark and Steve. This was taken out of Coulson's pocket. Fury looked at Steve and said, you are his idol. It seems that he has no chance to ask for your autograph. I am now deaf, blind, and helpless. Communication is interrupted. The whereabouts of the cosmic cube are unknown. I have also lost Thor and Banner. There is nothing I can do, and my best assistant has also died. Maybe I asked for it. Yes, I used the cosmic cube to develop weapons, but I didn't expect this. Stark also knew my plan to deal with the enemy. It was the Avengers' plan. Gather some highly capable people together to see if they can unite and become stronger, to see if they can help us win the wars we can't win. Coulson will still believe that you can do it until his death. When Fury said this, Stark had mixed feelings in his heart. He knew what Fury had planned, but he did blame himself and was angry. So he left the meeting room. He was a man of action. Instead of listening to Fury's nonsense here, the top priority was to find that bastard Loki. Looking at Stark leaving, Fury said, Zhang Li is right, I actually can't control anything. Yes, tension has already foreshadowed that we will have civil strife. Where's Mr. Zhang? Fury suddenly realized that during the entire battle, he had not seen the shadow of Zhang Li, and there was no news at all. It was like disappearing out of thin air, evaporating from the world. Hill, I have been busy coordinating the operations of various units and did not see the tension. I thought you knew where he was. You ask me? I don't know either. At this moment, Zhang had arrived on the roof of the New York Temple. Gu Yi seemed to have anticipated Zhang's arrival, so he specially prepared tea. Zhang Li was not polite, he sat directly opposite Gu Yi, then raised his glass and drank it all in one gulp. Good tea needs to be savored carefully, and you wasted a cup of excellent Kimon black tea. I'm just a 9-year-old kid, what can I taste? Zhang Li looked at the tea can on the table. Gu Yi's movements paused, as if he saw Zhang Li's little thoughts, and said, "No, I just have this." Before he finished speaking, Zhang Li directly put the tea can into the mirror space. "You won't be so stingy, will you take it back? This tea must be very fragrant when used to make tea eggs." He can't taste it, but he can eat it. He once promised to make Chinese food for Reina, so he hid a lot of ingredients in his mirror space. "You are like a bandit." Although he felt sorry for his tea, Gu Yi acted very calmly, quite like a master. The two of them were in a stalemate, no one spoke any more, just blowing the wind quietly. "Aren't you curious why I came here? Or have you seen it?" Finally, Zhang Li couldn't hold back his temper and broke the silent atmosphere first. "Most of the time I don't deliberately spy on time. But you can spy on many things at once, even many possibilities." Zhang Li didn't believe that Gu Yi hadn't seen his future when he appeared. So Gu Yi had spied on all the futures that Zhang Li had stayed in this universe. Unless one day he was strong enough to block time, then Gu Yi couldn't see his future. "What do you want to know?" Gu Yi put down the teacup in his hand. Zhang Li smiled, then took the teapot and poured himself a cup and said, "I want to ask you after asking Banner some questions." The Banner he was talking about was the Banner from the future, the Banner who had merged with the Hulk. Chapter 67, Meet the Future Green Banner. During his conversation with Steve, Stark realized that Loki was just as arrogant as him, liked to show off, and wanted the whole world to revolve around him. So he knew that Loki must have gone to his Stark Tower. After Stark fiddled with his damaged armor for a while, he was barely able to take off. And Steve also found Natasha, hoping that she could fly him to Stark Tower in a fighter plane. Like Stark, he no longer believed Fury's lies. Barton, who just got rid of Loki's control, happened to be there. He wanted to settle accounts with Loki, so the three of them went together. Looking at the Mark armor that was flying over his head, Zhang Li said, "If I had taken out all the shrapnel in his chest before, would he have placed the arc reactor somewhere else, or even not brought it with him?" At this time, Stark had not suffered from the sequelae of the war. If Zhang Li helped him take out all the shrapnel in his body, with his playboy style, he would definitely take out the reactor in his chest without hesitation. If he is controlled by Loki with the Mind Scepter at that time, it will be a lot of fun. Maybe he can even attract people from the Time Change Bureau. "I'm very curious." "Forget it, this question should not be asked." Zhang Li was very curious, who was controlling the Time Change Bureau at this time, Loki or Kang? But when he noticed the aura suddenly emanating from Ancient One, he knew that this question could not be asked casually. Ancient One also said that he would not spy on time casually. Now it seems that this is not the case. Buzz! A huge energy fluctuation suddenly came from the Stark building in the distance, and then a beam of light shot up into the sky, opening a hole in the sky. The moment the space channel opened, the Chirita army rushed over from the other end of the universe. Stark, who was thrown off the building by Loki, remotely activated the armor through the bracelet. Steve and the other two quickly joined the battle as soon as they arrived. Such a big movement naturally attracted the attention of Thor and Banner. Thor drove the thunder, and Banner rode a motorcycle slowly and arrived late. The Chirita's mechanical bugs, along with many Chirita soldiers, quickly dispersed to New York City and began a plundering war. "I have a special identity and will not participate in the war." Zhang Li saw the Chirita soldiers approaching the temple and decisively chose to hide behind Ancient One. It would be easy for him to deal with these little Karami, but why should he move when he could lie down? "You don't know how to respect the elderly and love the young." Ancient One waved his hand to retract the tables and chairs into the mirror space, and his plain clothes turned into yellow battle clothes. He solved the Chirita soldiers with a wave of his hand. "Hey, what kind of magic is this? Why is it not in the book you gave me? How can you hide it?" Ancient One looked at Zhang Li unhappily. "How can an ordinary book contain all the magic? And you are not a wizard of Camartage. Besides, you can flip through so many books in my collection whenever you want. If you don't find them, it can only be your own problem." Zhang Li casually invaded Ancient One's library. How could she not know? It's just that he was generous and didn't care about him. A white light flashed in the air, and then Banner, whom Zhang Li had been waiting for a long time, appeared on the roof of the temple. "Welcome back, Banner Hulk, you look good, why don't you dye your hair? That way it looks more uniform." Zhang Li raised a teacup to toast Banner. "Zhang Li." Banner looked at the center of New York City in the distance, where a Hulk was smashing the mechanical bug of Chirita. "I can explain it. Because he came from the future, he had to be careful in his words and deeds to avoid changing history and causing time branches. You have 7 doctoral degrees. You can find many theories to convince me, and I can't even tell the truth from the false." "Shit." Banner was at a loss and a little discouraged. "But you don't have to explain, because I know what happened." "What?" Banner was stunned at first, and then suddenly reacted, "Oh, I almost forgot that you are a magician who can predict the future. In fact, I can't predict the future, otherwise I wouldn't be waiting for you here." "What?" Green Banner felt that he didn't have such a headache when he was studying for a doctorate. "Don't talk for now. I can give you the time stone. Now I want to ask you a few questions." "No." Ancient One interrupted Zhang Li directly, and Zhang Li remembered that Ancient One didn't know the purpose of Banner's visit. "Okay, I have to explain to you first." So Zhang Li snapped his fingers, and the 3 of them appeared in the mirror space. Zhang Li drew his fingers again, and a golden light appeared in front of the 3 people, surrounded by 6 gems of different colors. "Banner came from the future and wants to borrow the time stone from Master Ancient One, and the loss of the time stone will make our timeline unstable." Zhang Li took the green gem, and the gold line suddenly branched into a black branch line. "But Master Ancient One, don't be nervous, because Banner will return to the time node where he borrowed the gem and return the time stone." Zhang Li put the green gem back, and the black branch line disappeared. "If you still have questions, think about your future good apprentice." Banner was stunned, but Ancient One had figured it out. "He is the best among us." After saying that, Ancient One directly opened the Eye of Agamotto and handed the time stone to Banner. "Zhang Li, are you from the future of the future?" Banner looked at the time gem in his hand and asked Zhang Li in confusion. "No, I'm from another universe." "What? Are you sure you're not talking about other star fields or something? I know you're a scientist and you're very curious, but I've helped you a lot. Shouldn't you answer some questions for me first?" Zhang Li seemed a little anxious. "Okay, you ask, I'll tell you everything I know." Zhang Li asked, "The first question, when did I leave you after the New York War? Did I come back? Can I tell?" "You can tell." Banner looked at Ancient One first, and when he nodded, Banner said, "You were elusive and lived in Stark's apartment for about half a month, and then you disappeared. I don't know where you went. A year later you appeared in Asgard, but then disappeared mysteriously again. We looked for you later, but there was no news. We thought you disappeared under Thanos' snap. That's all I know." Zhang Li asked, "Are you sure you didn't leave anything else behind? Others may know something else, but I only know this much." "Okay, you can go back and report." "I'm fine." Zhang Li snapped his fingers to cancel the mirror space, and the 3 returned to the real world again. But Zhang Li didn't notice that there was an extra can of tea in the hands of the Ancient One, which she put into her own mirror space. "Is it that simple?" Banner was a little unbelievable. This mission seemed too simple. He didn't do anything. However, Zhang Li stepped forward and pointed his finger at his temple at the moment he wasn't paying attention, poking into his skull, and instantly read Banner's memory. "Okay, you can go, goodbye." The reason why he didn't use mind reading at the first time was that after Banner merged with Hulk's consciousness, his skull seemed to be able to block telepathy. Chapter 68, Little Chicken Loki. After Banner left, Zhang Li asked Gu Yi with a smile. "Now that you no longer have the time stone, how many future possibilities can you still see? Can you guess the next question I want to ask?" Gu Yi frowned and looked at Zhang Li, and then looked behind Zhang Li. "Fake." Zhang Li's smile faltered. The moment he turned around, the time stone flew from his eyes to the Eye of Agamotto on Ancient Yi's chest. Then he saw Captain Buttocks standing behind him. "I'm here to return the gems. I'll open the back door for you." Zhang Li raised his hand and pushed Steve into the portal, sending him directly to Stark Tower. "I thought he would show up somewhere else first, but I didn't expect that the first stop would be here. What a mistake. Ancient One, would you like to have a cup of tea?" sit down and chat slowly. No need, I just invaded Little Mouth and wiped Captain Honey's brain. My situation in the future is not much different from what Banner said. Now I want to identify some issues. Don't ask. The eye of Agamotto on Guyi's chest shone green, and she stared at Zhang Li. Zhang Li snapped his fingers and brought the two of them into the mirror space, and then said, "So, you saw that time and space were broken?" "No." "Then what did you see?" Zhang Li was curious about how the world would change if he called that name. Ancient One was silent for a while and said, "The multiverse has fallen into chaos and war, and Loki dies. You will be trapped in time forever, and you will never have the chance to return to the Land of Nothingness." "Ha ha ha, it seems I guessed it right." Zhang Li felt that he had penetrated the mysteries of the universe. This universe is not complete yet. Although many demons already exist, their energy is weak and they are asleep. This universe is like an egg that has not yet hatched. Everything is possible. During the few months he stayed in New York, Zhang Li did not do anything. He tried to find traces of OAA, and also tried to cover the city with his thoughts, but found nothing. At that time, he already had suspicions. "Don't make any bad ideas," Guyi reminded, "don't forget that you still have family waiting for you." Gu placed a pair of fingers on the eye of Agamotto, keeping a relatively safe distance from Zhang Li, ready to subdue Zhang Li who might go crazy. "Loki is that little chicken, right? The god of stories is the spokesperson of this new universe, and he will bring this universe into the embrace of eternity, right? But why did he bring me here?" Zhang Li is like an explorer who has discovered the truth but is troubled by another problem, sometimes going crazy and sometimes falling into deep contemplation. As an alien soul, being trapped in the void forever seems to be the best solution to the problem. But Loki sent Zhang Li outside the void, or to the past timeline. Ancient One said that he was asked to protect the God Queen. Because the first stop was at the node where Molesky came to London, Zhang Li did not have too much doubts. He just thought that Kong was now in control of the timeline, so Loki could not too much interference. But now he found that things were not that simple. When Ancient One saw him for the first time, he politely gave it to this magician, and Odin directly helped him complete the sacrifice of the World Tree. They all seem to be doing the same thing, trying to grow up. So why is this? Tell me, why did he bring me here? Why do you want to help me? Judging from the memories of Banner and Steve, after the Battle of New York, he seemed to have gone elsewhere, and then appeared in Asgard a year later, and really saved the Queen Frigga, and then he should have left this world. Your growth is unexpected. We thought you would need at least some time, but now it seems that we have all underestimated you. After that, Guyi used the time gem to cast a magic on Zhang Li that Zhang Li had never seen before. Ancient One, time loop, you should know this magic. You want to trap me here? No, I just want to have an extra guarantee before the negotiation is finalized. Guyi waved his hand and put the tables and chairs back on, then took out the tea leaves and brewed tea again. Zhang Li took a deep breath, temporarily suppressed the restlessness in his heart, and sat down opposite Guyi. I won't take risks with Rita and Rena. They are my family in this world. I just want to know what you want to do. Why does this person have to be me? Guyi pushed a cup of tea in front of Zhang Li. I'm just an errand boy. Some things are better for you to ask the owner in person. You can't get any promises from me. Even if I make a promise, I may not be able to fulfill it. Zhang Li fell into silence while looking at the tea in front of him. Even though he had been a man for 2 generations, his wisdom still felt a little stretched and not enough. A bad plan. Zhang Li complained that their plan was full of flaws, but Zhang Li didn't know what they were going to do, which made him feel prickly and panicked. What else do you want to talk about? Ancient One, 3 chapters of the agreement. What's specific? First, don't do stupid things. Second, don't do stupid things. Third, don't do stupid things. Hey, can you tell me specifically what category of stupid things you understand? Zhang Li was laughed out of anger. He didn't expect that Guyi actually had such a side. Secrets must not be leaked. You cannot reveal details about the future to others. If you really can't help it, remember to be more subtle. Try to restrain yourself and don't leave your deep footprints in this world, especially, you are still young, don't be led astray by Stark. Zhang Li was confused, what does this mean? I am actually a little young, but I am physically healthy. I am 1.78 meters tall. Let's talk about the matter. Isn't the use of the word small a bit humiliating? Finally, I told you not to affect the overall progress of major events. Changing the current history is not a good thing for you. Zhang Li waited for the next words, but Gu Yi stopped talking. No more. Enough. Okay, I agree to everything, can you let me go now? This is your mirror space, you should let me go. Do you need me to let you go if you want to leave? Zhang Li snapped his fingers and brought the two back to the real world. Then Gu Yi took out a magic contract. Sign the contract. I did pretty well before, didn't I? I didn't violate any taboos. How about you cast a spell that can block taboo words for me? Contracts can't be signed casually. Who knows if Ancient One will do anything with it? Although you haven't completely mastered the runes, I still think that contracts are more restrictive to you than magic. After Zhang Li repeatedly checked the contents of the contract, he reluctantly signed his name. When he arrived at Stark Tower, the battle was already in the late stage. Loki was hit in the pit by Hulk and made a woohoo sound. Long time no see, Sister G, why are you lying in the pit? It's you, the lowly monkey. The dying Loki jumped up instantly, and then suddenly remembered that Zhang Li also swung him like Hulk last time in New Mexico, so he stepped back a few steps alertly. What do you want to do? How did you end up here? Oh, I almost forgot, you don't even know I'm on Earth. When you controlled Barton and the others, didn't you search their memories? Oh, I see, the monkey's memory will dirty your brain. What do you want to do? I warn you, I'm now a man of Thanos, the overlord of the universe. If you offend him, you'll suffer. Chapter 69, Zhang Li is targeted. I don't eat beef. Zhang was defeated by Gu Yi, and now he is still angry and has nowhere to vent his anger. Zhang Li raised his hand and imitated Hulk, smashing Loki back and forth into several holes on the floor. It has to be said that Stark's building is really built to withstand damage, and the next floor is not even visible with such a big hole. After swinging Loki, he drew a circle with his tension finger, and a teleportation aperture appeared above and below Loki's head, and then Loki began to fall freely inside. Tension's palms are clasped together, and the portal is closed. Then he looked at the spiritual scepter in the distance, and hooked the scepter into his hand with a hook of his fingers. With the mind scepter in hand, Zhang Li felt like he was on the sea, and the energy of the mind stone was simply boundless. Okay, let me see what surprise you can give me. On the throne at the end of time, Loki suddenly opened his eyes and shouted, "No!" The tree of time was shaken, and various natural disasters of varying sizes occurred in various worlds in the multiverse. And just when Zhang Li was about to touch the Mind Stone, green light emitted from his hand. The time magic arranged by Ancient Yi on Zhang suddenly took effect, and Zhang's time began to go backwards. Zhang Li looked at the spiritual scepter lying there quietly in the distance. He tried to get the scepter into his hand through the magnetic field, but he always felt as if he had done this action many times. Whenever the scepter was about to be acquired, the tense time began to go backwards, back to the time when he saw the scepter. Is this time going backwards? Didn't Ancient One remove the magic from my body? Hey, is she playing dirty tricks? The majestic Supreme Mage actually plays such a trick? But why? Zhang Li was puzzled. Didn't Gu Yi and the others want to grow up quickly? Directly enhance his spiritual will through the Mind Stone, and then he will become stronger. But why did Gu Yi stop him? At the end of time, Loki closed his eyes again to rest, but the noise he caused had already alarmed many people. So, is this your chosen challenger? Loki. In a mysterious hall, a mysterious man with blue skin and purple robes could actually peek into Zhang Li's current situation through a screen. He didn't know how. It's interesting. I can't see this man's future, and I can't detect his other transformations. He comes from the Land of Nothingness. Is he a citizen of the Land of Nothingness? The unknown often represents a threat. It seems that I have to contact other allies. At this time, Zhang Li didn't realize that someone was already watching him. After several fruitless attempts, Zhang Li finally gave up on the idea of becoming stronger through the spiritual scepter. Fake squid, Loki. After Zhang Li secretly cursed to vent his anger, he arrived at the top of the tall building of Stark Tower with a bang. Natasha saw Zhang Li appear and asked, Zhang, you came just in time. Do you see where Loki is? We need his scepter to close the passage. Tension, we have to stop Loki. Stark tried to use a cannonball to forcefully stop the operation of the cosmic cube. The energy shock caused Dr. Shavig to hit his head. After regaining his consciousness, he now blamed himself for becoming Loki's accomplice. I can't touch it. Zhang Li walked to the edge of the building and waved his finger, causing the spiritual scepter to automatically fly to the top of the building. Thank you, you've been a big help. Natasha picked up the scepter on the ground and directly penetrated the protective force field of the cosmic cube, which could destroy the teleportation matrix at any time. Everyone, I found a way to close the channel. Good, close it quickly, we can't hold on any longer. Two fists are no match for four, and Kirita's millions of troops are pouring in continuously, and they can no longer withstand it. Hawkeye has shot all his arrows and now he can only fight the enemy with his bare hands. Even the big guy Hulk was briefly suppressed by the Kirita army's firepower. The only one who can still fight is probably Thor, the god of thunder. Don't be in a hurry to close it yet. Stark's voice came from the headset, a nuclear bomb is flying over, and I have an idea. Farky. Everyone secretly cursed that the top government officials were selfish people who didn't care about the lives and deaths of civilians. At the same time, he also scolded Fury for not being able to guard the weapon in his hand, and being a loser. Dr. Shavig, we meet again. You have done something big this time. Zhang Li began to chat with Shavig. Zhang, I made a big mistake. Dr. Shavig was ashamed. Hey, Zhang Li, can you help me? There are still many civilians down there who failed to evacuate in time. There are more and more enemies. Steve and the others can't hold on any longer. Natasha knew that Zhang Li had the ability to make metal surrender, and Zhang Zhang's method of making the spiritual scepter fly up just now proved that the information was accurate. Kirita soldiers are all covered in metal armor, and their tension shots can definitely deal a blow to the enemy. I'm just a consultant, not a member of the Avengers. Zhang. Dr. Shavig suddenly knelt down in front of Zhang. Please take action to make up for the big mistake I made. Seeing Dr. Shavig with tears on his face, everyone knelt on the ground, and he was an acquaintance. Wouldn't it be a bit unkind not to help? Okay, anyway, I'm full of anger right now and need to vent it out. Come over. Zhang Li pulled out of thin air, and a Kirita soldier and his aircraft were directly pulled to the rooftop by Li Zhang. Zhang Li directly strangled his spirit, and the Kirita soldier with claws and fangs instantly collapsed to the ground. The metal on the aircraft fell off and turned into a helmet and a hammer under the control of tension. He put on his helmet and pulled out a piece of red cloth from the mirror space and put it on his body. The second Thor was born. Why are you dressing up like Thor? Because I don't want to be a hero. Boom. Zhang Li raised the hammer, and the power in his body poured out, turning into thunder and surrounding him. He moved onto the back of a large mechanical insect and smashed it into pieces with one hammer. The broken limbs of the Kirita soldiers were scattered on the ground. The hammer was thrown out again, and with a bang sound, there was a sonic boom, and another big insect was crushed to pieces. The metal hammer softened and deformed even before it came into contact with the big bug, and it disintegrated the moment it smashed the big bug. Zhang Li didn't care at all, he stretched out his hand and gathered a hammer again in his hand, and rushed into the Kirita army. Zhang Li charged forward, frantically harvesting the heads of Kirita soldiers like chopping melons and vegetables. Sol was directly stunned by Zhang Li's sexy moves. Well done, Thor. Captain America suddenly rushed up from the side and patted Thor on the shoulder. Then he turned around and saw another Thor fighting crazily among the army. Is this a clone spell? Sol looked at Steve resentfully. That's tension. Is he that strong? I didn't realize it at all. Steve couldn't imagine that the boy he had quarreled with when they first met could have such terrifying fighting power. Boom! Zhang Li raised his hand and struck with thunder, knocking down a big insect. Are you sure they are not related by blood? Steve asked Thor. What? Thor was startled by Steve. If he hears you, he will die. Although I don't know how he controls the power of thunder, I know that he is very stingy. Chapter 70, The Power of Heaven. One transformation of 3,000 hammers. When the hammer was raised, 3,000 square hammers spontaneously condensed from the discarded metal on the battlefield. 3,000 hammers fell, and each of the overwhelming hammers could accurately kill a soldier. This punch takes 9 years of skill. Zhang punched out from a long distance, and his divine power came out of his body. With a bang sound, the big mechanical bug in the sky seemed to have hit a transparent wall and fell down. Thousands of thunders from heaven. Mjolnir in Thor's hand, who was watching the show, suddenly flew into Zhang Li's hand. The energy in his body continuously poured into Mjolnir. Boom! Dark clouds gathered in the sky, blocking out the sun, and the blue light emitted by the universe cube appeared much brighter. Dark clouds rained down thunder, shrouding the surrounding Stark Tower, and all electronic equipment malfunctioned under the influence of the powerful lightning electromagnetic field. Thor looked at Mjolnir in Zhang Li's hand resentfully, feeling as if his little wife had been snatched away by Zhang Li. "He won't kill us too, right?" Steve said so unconfidently for the first time, and the aura displayed by the tension was a bit too strong. Roar! Even the bellicose Hulk ran to Thor, looking a little flustered. The thunder might not kill him, but it frightened him. Probably, no way. Thor can also summon thunder, but he doesn't have that clever control. Boom! Thick thunderbolts landed like wildly growing tree roots, destroying most of everything around Stark Tower. There were very few surviving soldiers in Kirita, and all the big mechanical bugs fell to the ground and lost their movement. But under this panic of heavenly power, no ordinary person was harmed. They just felt their hair stand on end, and the thunder automatically avoided them. "Phew, I'm sorry, someone provoked me, and the noise was a bit loud." Zhang Li handed Mjolnir back to Thor, and then said, "The credit is yours, I never came." With a bang, Zhang Zhan teleported directly to the roof of Stark Tower, leaving several people looking at each other. Thor looked at everything around him. What kind of credit is this? Be the destroyer. The government is already giving face by not seeking compensation from Saul, but it also has such a shitty credit. After Zhang returned to the roof of the building, he felt a lot more relaxed. This was the first time that he had vented the power in his body so unscrupulously, and his body was sweating. "Natasha, what kind of monsters have I come into contact with this day?" She originally thought that after being scared by Hulk, there would be nothing to be afraid of in this world. But when the tension triggered the thunder, Natasha felt the power of heaven, and the powerful pressure made her feel insignificant. Dr. Shavig next to her even knelt on the ground as soon as his legs softened. "You're really messing around. It seems my magic isn't precise enough." Gu Yi on the roof of the temple saw Zhang Li summoning thunder, and she felt her head buzzing. Fortunately, Zhang Li pretended to be Thor, otherwise she would have been really difficult to deal with, and Loki wouldn't have been able to explain anything. Stark approached the thunder pool with the nuclear bomb. He was also startled and almost turned around. When he saw that his Stark Tower was destroyed like an unfinished building, he cursed heartbrokenly, "Thor, I give you a star, a star, a star." The little mouth was smeared with honey, which was a bit sweet. Although he said he was being unreasonable, this thunder also refreshed Stark's inner view of God. Maybe what Fury said is not completely unreasonable. There are thousands of thoughts in his heart, but Stark has not forgotten the nuclear bomb he is carrying. At this moment, he interpreted the responsibility of a hero, carrying a nuclear bomb and rushing into the space wormhole without hesitation, and threw the nuclear bomb at the enemy on the other side of the starry sky. However, the hero is not completely fearless. He is not ready to sacrifice yet, but Pepper's mobile phone communication has not been connected. "Sorry sir, I was unable to contact Ms. Pepper." Pepper had just held a press conference in Washington and was returning to New York on a private plane. Her eyes never left the TV news, and her cell phone happened to be in silent mode. Jarvis's report cut off the last hope in Stark's heart. The nuclear bomb was released and its energy was exhausted. Then he looked up and saw the enemy's huge space battleship and their millions of troops. The seeds of fear bloomed all over the place in an instant, occupying his entire brain. The beating frequency of his heart instantly increased, then gradually slowed down until it stopped. Boom! Even across countless seas of stars, Steve could feel the nuclear explosion on the other side of the starry sky through the space wormhole. Close the passage. Steve couldn't bet on how many people would be harmed if nuclear radiation spilled into the sky over New York through the wormhole. So he chose to give up on Tony. However, the result was not bad. At the last moment when the channel was closed, Stark returned to Earth through the wormhole. But his armor did not slow down, but was in free fall. Roar! Hulk jumped up and caught Stark, using himself as a cushion to cushion the landing. Thor stepped forward and lifted Stark's steel mask, and then saw Stark's peaceful face. He has no heartbeat. Roar! Just when Stark was pronounced dead, Hulk roared at Stark. This roar was so powerful that it directly brought Stark's soul back. Zhang Li upstairs has been paying attention to Hulk's changes, but he has not found anything wrong. I thought you would call under all things over. Stark was not completely dead, because Zhang Li saw that his soul did not leave his body, but there was a crack between him and his body. And Hulk's sudden roar scared Stark's soul and body, and the two coincidentally merged together. Stark, who survived by chance, was still in shock. He used his best mouth cannon to ease the atmosphere after the war and comforted himself, "We won, everything is over." Little did he know that the seeds of fear had been planted in his heart. "Well done everyone, let's not go to work tomorrow. Let's have a meal together. I know a Turkish kebab that tastes good." "We are not done yet." When several people heard this, they realized that Loki had not been arrested yet, so they climbed up the Stark building again and searched for Loki's traces separately. After the war, the SHIELD agents rushed to the scene as soon as possible. Fury is a black-boiled egg. He was not seen during the war, but he sent people after the war. And they were all from SHIELD. Agent Sitwell and Agent Crossbones Bullock were the first to come to the roof to retrieve the Mind Scepter and the Cosmic Cube. They happened to meet Stark and Thor on the roof. Thor said bluntly, "I want to take the Cosmic Cube and Loki away." Chapter 71, Encounter with Daredevil. Zhang Li raised his hand to draw circles, and with a pop, Loki fell to the ground. Ouch! I was in free fall for half an hour. After tying up Loki, everyone took the elevator downstairs in 2 batches, but Zhang Li left directly with magic. "Why doesn't he take us with him?" Stark complained. Zhang Li went directly to the lobby on the 1st floor. After the battle, all forces poured in and actively cleaned up the battlefield, with ulterior motives. The direct spiritual suggestion of tension made everyone ignore themselves. After Stark and the others went downstairs with the Cosmic Cube and Loki, Stark from the future made Ant-Man Scott shrink into a smaller form and enter the arc reactor, destroying the circuit and short-circuiting it. Then Stark from the future, disguised as a soldier, easily subcontracted the Cosmic Cube. Everything was going well, but Hulk suddenly rushed out and knocked him down, and the cube slid down to Loki's feet. Although Loki was confused after witnessing everything, he would not miss the opportunity, picked up the Space Cube Agent's space wormhole and left directly. Zhang Li wanted to follow him, but after several attempts, he found that he couldn't leave at all. Gu Yi's magic had taken effect again. "I don't know how many times I tried. Not yet reaching the Heavenly Father level, it was not easy for Zhang Li to detect the reversal of time, so every time he realized that time was reversing, he didn't know how many times he stupidly repeated the same action." Zhang Yan walked up to the pale Tony and said, "Move over, the doctor is here." "Zhang Li, please help Stark, he can't breathe." Steve and others quickly moved out of the way to make room for Zhang Zhang. "Shit, in order to reward your bravery, I decided to fulfill my previous promise." "Stop, nonsense, you, hurry up." Tension's 2 fingers pointed at Stark's chest, and Stark let out a strange cry of wow. He felt the shrapnel in his body move violently. Tension controlled the shrapnel in his body to transform into tiny iron needles. When he raised his finger, several iron needles as thin as an ox hair passed through the intercellular spaces, came out of his body, and fell into Zhang Tension's palm. Stark's breathing became smoother and his complexion gradually turned rosy. "Did you take it all out?" "Yes." Zhang Zhang flipped his palm, and several shrapnel fragments of different sizes appeared in his palm. "Ha ha ha, I'm back to health. It's worth celebrating, let's have a party tonight." Zhang Li struck, "Actually, you can only be considered sub-healthy. Also, Loki ran away." Only then did several people realize that Loki was missing. Then everyone started to look for Loki again. Zhang Li found the best place to watch the movie and saw that future Steve successfully deceived the Mind Scepter by saying "Long live Hydra." Then as soon as he got out of the elevator, he had a fight with his past self and was beaten up by his past self. Bucky is alive. What? Future Steve is better at playing tricks. When his past self wasn't paying attention, he used the Mind Scepter to knock his past self out. Then he stood there admiring his buttocks and praised her before leaving. After future Steve left, another future Steve came out of the corner. Why are you standing there stunned? Do you think your butt is sexy? Zhang Li suddenly appeared behind Steve from the future, startling him. You scared me. Zhang Li asked, how do you feel? How does it feel? Kick yourself, and then appreciate yourself. I watched a movie where a killer went to the past to kill someone, and finally found out that the assassination target was his future self who traveled back in time. In the end, he fell in love with his future self after plastic surgery, and then I gave birth to myself. Stop, stop, that's too disgusting and stupid. So you still admire your butt now? Steve couldn't help but glance at his old buttocks, and then felt a chill. He quickly put down the spiritual scepter in his hand and left this place of right and wrong. Zhang Li looked at Steve's buttocks and said, maybe there is such a parallel universe where you really fell in love with yourself and gave birth to yourself. Just after future Steve left, Zhang felt that there was a sudden fluctuation of life on the top floor. When he went over and took a look, wasn't it Loki lying in the pit? The finishing work after the war was left to black braised eggs. After a tiring day, Zhang Li needed to reward himself. After having a hearty meal at a Chinese restaurant in Chinatown, he wandered aimlessly on the streets. He needed to think carefully about what to do next. Anyway, he must not follow Loki's rhythm. He needs to control his own rhythm. Buzz buzz. Several motorcycles suddenly rushed out and surrounded Zhang Li, and then several black guys took out knives and threatened Zhang Li, hand over all the valuable things you have on you, don't make me angry. Oh, do you know why black people are always discriminated against? Because you make people uncomfortable in terms of visual impact, and you are so self-destructive that it is annoying. You're looking for death. The black boy became angry and aimed the knife in his hand at Zhang Li's lower abdomen. Ouch! The knife that was meant to be stabbed at Zhang Li ended up stabbing him, and blood spurted out instantly. The other black guys were fighting together as if they were possessed by evil spirits. They fell under the mental illusion of tension. The black guy who wanted to stab Zhang Li looked at Zhang in horror, and kept shouting devil, demon, and ran away while shouting. Zhang Li ignored him. This guy would either become crazy and be locked up in a mental hospital, or he would not come out to do evil again. After dealing with the gangsters, Zhang Li began to look around. He knew where this place was from the memories of the gangsters. I didn't expect to visit Hell's Kitchen. The sun was setting, the night was coming, and the evil was about to sprout. Hell's Kitchen is the collective name for the 8 darkest and most evil streets in New York. It is a paradise for crime. There are only 2 kinds of people who don't commit crimes here, the dead and superheroes. Kid, I suggest you leave here as soon as possible. Matthew, wearing sunglasses, used a blind stick to kindly remind Zhang Li to leave this evil place. Hi Matthew, nice to see you again. You look better in a suit, like a man in black. Do we know each other? I can't see what you look like, sorry I didn't recognize your voice. Zhang Li, about 4 years ago, you were still wearing a red suit at that time, so lame. Who are you? Daredevil Matthew Murdock suddenly became alert and serious. Not many people knew his true identity, and he suspected that Zhang Li might be an enemy. Wait, you said 4 years ago. Matthew thought he might have misunderstood Zhang Li, because 4 years ago he hadn't put on a red suit and hadn't become Daredevil. Oh. Sorry, in this world, you hadn't become Daredevil at that time, my mistake. This world? Are you sure you're sane? Matthew thought Zhang Li might have a brain problem. Let's ignore this question for now, so do you know Danny Rand? Zhang Li suddenly wanted to learn Qigong. Chapter 72, King. I don't know any Danny Rand. Well, you're still too young, but thank you for showing up and letting me find something to do. Zhang Li read his mind and discovered that Matthew had just embarked on his journey as a superhero and knew very few superheroes. Matthew wanted to ask something else, but he suddenly heard a voice that did not belong to this space appear behind Zhang Yan. The smell of burning incense and a slightly cold air blew over. In Matthew's radar sense, there seemed to be something behind Zhang. Connect to this other world. Zhang Li stepped back and walked into that world, and then he disappeared from Matthew's eyes. Matthew could no longer hear any sounds about Zhang Li, but the smell remaining in the air told him that Zhang Li had indeed been here. Is that an arbitrary door? Since Stark announced that he is Iron Man, the whole world has undergone some wonderful changes. After Zhang Li left Hell's Kitchen, he went directly to Comitage. Mr. Zhang Li, is there anything I can help you with at this late hour? Master Modu stepped forward and asked. Master Modu, before I became a mage, I was a mind reader, and I still am now. I'm not in a good mood today, so you stay away from me, lest I can't help but do something bad to you. Modu is a disciple of the Ancient One and has always coveted the position of Supreme Mage. After the outstanding Cassius appeared, he knew that he was hopeless. So he began to lower his standards and aimed to become a powerful guardian mage. He was born into an aristocratic family, so he behaved in a rigid manner. Zhang Li didn't even have a formal mage identity, but he broke into Comitage again and stole books at will. This was heinous in his opinion. This is Comitage, not your back garden, little brat. Modu took out his short stick magic weapon and threatened, now, you either get out of here, or I tell you to get out. Haha, I'm so scared. I'm giving you face, right? As soon as Zhang raised his hand, the Xuan ring in Modu's hand liquefied like water and flew towards Zhang. The moment he was caught by Zhang, it changed back to the appearance of Xuan ring. Give me back the Xuan ring. Modu raised his weapon, jumped up, and smashed the door in front of Zhang Li. Zhang casually drew a circle, and two interconnected portals appeared above his head and below his feet. Seeing that Modu was about to fall into Zhang Li's portal trap, he suddenly stepped on the air, and his whole body actually stepped on the air, avoiding the portal. Ha, I forgot, your short boots are also a good magic weapon. Stop talking nonsense. Modu raised his stick and hit it. His fighting skills were good, but the speed of tension was too fast for him to catch up. Originally, I didn't want to embarrass you for the sake of Master Guyi, but you insist on coming to find trouble. Certainly. Master Modu was frozen in place and unable to move. It seemed that he was following the tension, but in fact it was the mental field that intuitively sealed Modu's body. What did you do to me? Modu didn't see Zhang Li cast magic, and he didn't even swing forward. This move surprised him. Shut up. Modu's mouth was still moving, but no sound came out. This is a spiritual suggestion. Invading Modu's brain makes him feel like he is mute. Very well, now let's see what magic is suitable for punishment. Zhang Li reached out and borrowed the magician's books collected by Guyi, and began to search for suitable punishment magic in front of Modu. If looks could kill, Modu's looks were enough to kill Zhang Li 1,000 times. Who are you? What did Master Bamoda do? A fat, middle-aged man with a crew cut, his hands wrapped around the magic aperture, looked at Zhang Li with vigilance. Oh, it's the Mage King. You're here just in time. Can you tell me what magic is more suitable for punishing children who make mistakes? I searched for a long time and couldn't find it. King, what you are holding is the Supreme Mage's Collector's Edition of the Magic Book. Are you an intruder? Wang immediately completed the details of Zhang Li's invasion of Comitage in his mind. The thief Zhang Li stole the books from the Supreme Mage and was discovered by Master Modu. Modu wanted to stop him, but Zhang Li used a trick to subdue him. Wang punched the wall next to him, and his fist passed through the wall and appeared strangely next to the side of Zhang Li's face. As expected of the Mage King who used teleportation magic to the extreme, Zhang Li didn't even notice that the teleportation magic was formed just now, and a fist had already appeared on the side of his face. Zhang just dodged the fist, and out of the corner of his eye, he noticed that the teleportation magic that could only accommodate the size of a fist expanded instantly, and then Wang rushed out from inside, punching and kicking Zhang Li. With your strength, the position of next Supreme Mage must be yours. Zhang Li took a side step to dodge Wang's attack, and quickly retreated to distance himself. Cut the nonsense. Wang turned around, and suddenly a magic rope flew out of his hand like a snake, instantly wrapping around tension. Looking at Wang rushing up with his fists waving, Zhang Li repeated his old trick and opened his mouth and said the word ding. The moment Wang's movements stopped, the golden light on his body flashed and he broke free from the shackles of tension. Huh? Guardian magic? When did you arrange it? Zhang Li almost overturned and Wang punched him in the face. Pulling away from Wang again, Zhang Li tried to read Wang's consciousness. As a result, golden light patterns flashed across his flat head, which actually blocked the intrusion of Zhang Zhang's consciousness. Good fellow, the king's position as the Supreme Mage is not for nothing. This guy is quite something. If the guardian magic is not carried by an object, it will consume a lot of magic power, but the king even put the guardian magic on his head. In such a safe place like Camartage, if the king arranged this magic in advance, how strong would his magic be? If it was arranged temporarily, how fast would he be and how skillful would he be? Is he really only good at teleportation magic? But the king is now more surprised than Zhang Li. Before the battle began, he had secretly released the communication magic, but now Camartage is still as quiet as before. This is not right. Who are you? The king planned to see if he could continue to delay time. Nice to meet the Mage King, my name is Zhang Li. Zhang Li. The king looked carefully, but he was as young as the rumors said, with the appearance of a white and yellow mixed race. Then why did you attack the mage Mordo? He no longer bothered about the magic book in Zhang Li's hand, because it was allowed by the supreme mage. He humiliated me. Really? Wang turned around and asked Mordo. Mordo could open his mouth, but no sound came out. What did you say? Wang thought Mordo was too quiet, and he even picked his ears. I silenced him. What kind of magic is this? How come I don't know? He remembered all the magic in Camartage, but he had never heard of this kind of magic that can make people shut up. Of course, there are many magics that can make people shut up, but there is really no magic that is as safe as Zhang Li's. It's not magic, it's superpowers. Superpowers? Are you a special race? Chapter 73, Loki chose you. Yes. Isn't Zhang Li a mutant? Besides, Momedlei I can't be considered a human. Anyway, can you release Master Mordo first? Wang believed most of Zhang Li's words, otherwise it couldn't explain why Zhang Li was so reckless and why there was no response to his message. Forget about the others, how could the Supreme Mage not find out? Unless there was some dimensional demon holding her back. Then you have to let him learn to respect people like this, respect a guest. He will. Wang promised. Zhang Li then snapped his fingers to remove all the control effects on Mordo. He is an intruder, a stowaway. Calm down, Master Mordo. Wang stretched out his hand to stop Mordo, and warned with his eyes, don't make a big deal, you are already embarrassing enough. Mordo wanted to eat Zhang Li, but in the end he snorted coldly and left angrily. Please come this way. I'll take you to see the Supreme Mage. Wang looked at Mordo who was leaving, his face was not very emotional, and he walked in front to lead the way for Zhang Li. After they left, a figure walked out from the corner of the corridor. He was Cassius, the proud student of Ancient One, but even he could not browse Ancient One's collection of books at will, so he felt resentful. Don't you have anything to say? Wang's calmness was a bit unexpected. He had no hesitation when he just attacked. I'm sorry for attacking you suddenly. Wang suddenly stopped and turned back to bow to Zhang Li to apologize. This. Zhang Li looked at the direction where Mordo left, and then looked at Wang. Is this what I mean? Why don't I know? Is it true that the imagination is the most powerful weapon of mankind? When did you set up that guardian magic just now? Zhang Li asked curiously. When I attacked. I didn't see it. When I approached you, I felt an inexplicable threat. There is a beast lurking in your body, which is frightening. Zhang Li could probably understand. Judging from Wang's proficiency in teleportation magic, his spatial perception ability would naturally not be weak. Although he hid his ability well, his mirror space was always open, so it was normal for Wang to notice the huge energy. So your talent is to cast magic instantly. I prepared for a long time, but I just put some tricks on the teleportation magic. Can you be more specific? Zhang Li didn't understand Wang's words for a while. I arranged the protection magic in advance, and then cast the magic on myself when I passed through the portal. Use the mirror space. Wang paused and looked at Zhang Li deeply. He didn't expect Zhang Li to understand the key point with just a little click. Are you the successor of the Supreme Mage? No, I'm not. What a pity for your magical talent. The king's magic is the result of his years of accumulation. Through his knowledge and talent, he first enters the mirror space and puts on the protective magic he has arranged in advance when passing through the portal, and then passes out from the other side of the portal. In this way, the protective magic is directly put on him. Wang, I think we can discuss magic knowledge together in the future. Zhang Li had a little inspiration about the space ring he was studying. Since it is impossible to compress the mirror space into the ring, can a connection channel be established directly between the ring and the mirror space? If you just want to keep the mirror space for a long time, you still need a lot of magic power supply. This problem must be solved. Wang did not give Zhang Li a direct answer. After taking Zhang Li to Gu Yi's residence, he hurriedly said goodbye. You really know how to cause trouble for others. Gu Yi scolded Zhang Li unceremoniously. Yet, some bastard threw me here without saying a word, and said this is not right and that is not right, and asked two old immortals to watch me, but he didn't explain what was going on. After one of the old immortals stabbed me to death with a gun, he forced me to finish watching the legendary life. He raised his two sons astray, and wanted to show off to a child who was less than 10 years old. Shameless! Zhang Li snatched the tea that Gu Yi had just brewed, and put it directly into his stomach without worrying about burning his mouth. The resentful little eyes seemed to say, "Did you hide the tea leaves, you old immortal? You secretly took the tea leaves from my mirror space back. You are so shameless. Can the things you gave away go back smoothly? Gu Yi, it is precisely because you are still a child that you lack education." Yes, you are all right, but I don't understand, don't you want to train me? Why do you forbid me to touch the Mind Stone? This doesn't make sense. Are they afraid that they will be out of their control after breaking through the father level? We have to make sure you can't step into the ranks of the father level. Gu said bluntly. But I've already stepped half a foot into it. His magnetic field ability combined with the energy in his body, although the control may appear rough due to the lack of mental willpower, but the burst can definitely reach the influence of the father level. This is Odin's mistake. We didn't expect that your body could still absorb the energy of the world tree even after losing the control of the soul. The original plan was that after leaving Asgard, you still needed to come to Camartage to learn magic. Finally, by 2013, your strength should steadily enter the quasi-father level. If it is just for the purpose of training you, wouldn't it be more convenient to throw you directly into the mutant world? It makes sense. Loki is the god of stories. Even if the universe he controls is not complete, throwing Zhang Li into a mutant world will definitely make Zhang Li rise quickly. So what is your purpose? There is no free lunch in the world. They spent so much thought on Zhang Li, and they must have a plan. You also said that this universe is incomplete, but it is in this incomplete universe that a god of time was born. Time should be the eternal authority. So our god of stories needs to face challenges and trials. What does this have to do with me? Zhang Li felt uneasy, as if he was involved in an incredible event. Loki chose you. Fuck. Zhang Li jumped up on the spot, with a grudge in his chest that he had nowhere to vent. Chosen me? Just because I'm a stowaway from outside the universe? Haven't I been exiled? Why did he choose me? To be his scapegoat? Put all the blame on me? Just like picking a death row prisoner from the prison to take the blame. Boom. Excited, Zhang Li smashed Gu Yi's table with a slap, and the energy in his body was wantonly released. The room was raging with a strong wind. The powerful energy alarmed the protective magic circle of Camartage, and the mages who were ready to sleep woke up one after another. Who dare to release such a majestic magic power in Camartage? Is it an invasion by enemies from the dimensional space? Chapter 74, Dismantling Shield. Boom. There was an explosion on S.H.I.E.L.D's spaceship, and fire and black smoke rose. Mom, what happened to Fake? Black Braised Egg was extremely angry. Loki's crisis had just been resolved, and something happened again so suddenly. After some operations on the computer, Agent Hill reported, "Director, it's Zhang Li." "Calm down, kid." Ancient Yi floated in mid-air and stared at the tension on the deck of the spaceship. "I'm calm enough. I tolerated you like a clown for 2 years and let you do what you want. I just want to go home, even if it's just a prison, I admit it." Zhang Li raised his hand to control a fighter plane to disintegrate and turn into countless sharp iron thorns surrounding Gu Yi. The two magic apertures in Gu Yi's hands cooperated with her movements to form a perfect defense, intercepting all the iron thorns 2 feet in front of her. Zhang Li knew that an attack of this level could not stop Gu Yi at all, so he grabbed an iron spear and used his fingers to continuously carve runes on it with divine power. Zhang Li and Gu Yi broke down. Zhang Li hoped that Gu Yi could let him go, but Gu Yi said that this was his mission and he couldn't avoid it. Zhang Li also asked Gu Yi to recommend her to learn Qigong. Gu Yi said that was originally planned, but now it is no longer possible. Qi is a more mysterious energy. There are many practices in martial arts that test and strengthen people's will. We dare not take risks. As a result, Zhang Li, who was unwilling to accept it, escaped from Comitage. Who is Zhang Li's enemy? Contact Stark and the others to ask about the situation. Fighters take off and let the agents support Zhang Li. Fury issued a series of orders, and the agents on the spaceship took action quickly. The battle in New York hasn't even ended a day yet, so why are the enemies coming again? The Avengers members who were supposed to have a good rest hurriedly locked Loki up with him, and then went to hold some kind of celebration banquet. The agents under him may not be able to handle it alone. Agent Hill reported, Director, Stark and the others don't know anything about it, but they are on their way over. Tell them to hurry up. On the deck, Gu Yi easily withstood Zhang Li's attack, her robes fluttering in the wind and making a grin. Li Zhang, stop doing stupid things. This is your mission. Shut up. Zhang Li didn't want to hear Gu Yi's explanation. Being chosen by Loki, he didn't know what he was going to do, but things involving the multiverse would never be simple. Zhang Li was afraid that once he heard it, there would be no way out. Missions should not be given, but should be chosen by people. And I refuse to listen to your bullshit. Zhang Li threw the iron spear in his hand at Gu Yi, and at the same time his telekinesis and magnetism exploded. He shouted the word ding, and even Gu Yi was disturbed by the powerful field force for a moment. And in the moment when he was frozen, the iron spear thrown by Zhang Li turned into 4 and stuck in the 4 directions of Gu Yi's southeast, northwest, and northwest. The 4 iron spears pulled each other, faintly affecting the power of space. The 4 elements of ice, fire, thunder, and poison attacked the broken space and rushed towards ancient Yi. Zhang has been studying the mirror space for so long. Although he has not come up with the Naja, he has developed many ways to use it. Thunder and fire are all converted and sealed by the energy in his body, while ice and poison are the products of the fusion of magic and runes. Although he was unable to take the step to the Heavenly Father level due to the problem of mental willpower. But the energy stored in his body is not inferior to the Heavenly Father level combat power. With a bang, the tension teleported out. It was absolutely impossible for him to trap Gu Yi, let alone defeat him. So his purpose from the beginning was very simple, to find ways to reach the Mind Stone. As long as he can improve his mental willpower and break through to the Heavenly Father level, he will completely break the rules set by Loki and the others. In S.H.I.E.L.D.'s laboratory, the psychic scepter was temporarily placed here, and many scientists were conducting tests with various instruments. Regardless, Zhang Li stepped forward to grab the Mind Scepter, but suddenly remembered that he had signed a contract with Gu Yi. The moment he touched the Mind Stone, he would be forced to turn back time. Farki. Just thinking about taking out the Mind Stone and using it to break through, I forgot that I had Ancient One's magic restriction on me. Stop it, you know you can't touch the Mind Stone at all. During Zhang Zhang's hesitation, Gu Yi had already escaped from the trap and came behind Zhang. That's not necessarily the case. Zhang Li hooked her fingers, and the spiritual scepter flew towards Zhang Li. The moment Zhang Li was about to touch the spiritual scepter, Gu Yi found that the magic she had arranged on Zhang Li's body did not work, so she opened the argo on her chest. The eye of the motorcycle stops the tense time. When Zhang Li came back to his senses, the spiritual scepter had already come to Gu Yi's hand. Now Zhang Li really had no chance. You are scared, ha ha ha, then I can be even more unscrupulous. Just now, Zhang Li used psychic suggestion on himself to completely block his inner thoughts. As expected, the magic left by Ancient Yi on him became ineffective. He is the person chosen by Loki, and they don't dare to kill him. Since he is still useful, they are not afraid of making things worse. Crack, click, click. S.H.I.E.L.D's spaceship began to make a metallic click sound. If I threaten the lives of everyone in S.H.I.E.L.D., how should you deal with it? Swish, swish, swish. The metal on the spaceship fell off the spaceship, and began to condense armor for him with the tension as the center. The fighter planes taking off, the weapons in the warehouse, and the various metal components of the flying ship liquefied and gathered, wrapping the combat power-wearing armor, condensing into a steel giant like a transformer, leaving only a thin metal plate to hold up the flight track, so that the people of S.H.I.E.L.D. would not immediately do the free fall of high-altitude falling objects. Fuck, Zhang Li, what the hell are you doing? Fury didn't expect that the enemy was not the bald woman in yellow robes, but Zhang Li. He had already held the pager to contact Captain Marvel in his hand, ready to press the call button before he died. Why are you called Black Braised Egg? They are all undercover agents of Hydra. You die one and they die a bunch. You don't lose. Hill, am I a gift? Alas. Ancient One sighed, and then gently uttered 2 words, sleep. What? Zhang Li was puzzled. Just as he was about to ask a question, he suddenly felt dizzy, his eyes gradually blurred, and his body softened and fell down. What happened? I was showing my power just now, why do I suddenly feel like I'm dying? Before I could figure out the situation, Zhang Li fell asleep. In camouflage, Ancient One tasted the tea in the cup, while Zhang Li slumped on the table and snored slightly. This is the contrast between the strength of mental willpower. Even though Zhang Li has powerful mental energy, his strength is only 1 step away from the level of the Father of Heaven. But he didn't even know when he was plotted against by Ancient One. He fell into a dream and couldn't get out of it. Chapter 75, The Game of Power. What the hell? Coulson's body turned into a metal man. Early in the morning, Black Egg had just woken up, and Agent Hill ran over to tell him that Coulson had turned into a metal lump. I've heard of mummies and seen a lot of them, but I've never heard of anyone whose body can be metallized after death. According to the test, the quality of metal Coulson is equal to the quality of the metal that disappeared inexplicably at the place where Coulson was found, and the material is the same. So, someone stole Coulson's body. Characters like Zhang Li and Thor have appeared, and Fury is afraid that someone can control a person's memory before death through the corpse. Coulson knows a lot of secrets. It's hard to say, Coulson's blood is real, but it's impossible to be sure whether Coulson was really dead at the time. It's Zhang Li, let Stark ask him. Fury thought carefully. Coulson gave him the middle finger before he died and called him Black Egg. That was not Coulson's character, but more like Zhang Li. Although the Avengers were established, they were kidnapped by Stark. He worked hard for many years, but lost all his credit because of a lie. But the result was good, so he was not dissatisfied. Stark returned to his villa and came to the floor where Zhang Li lived. The moment he opened the door, he was startled by Coulson lying on the ground. Help, life! Coulson stretched out his hand to Stark tremblingly like a mummy. Zhang Li was locked in the room and restricted, so he couldn't get out at all. Stark usually didn't bother Zhang Li because he was very irritable when studying magic. Zhang Li hadn't come back to live since the New York War. So Coulson was trapped in the room for 3 days without food or water. That is to say, he was trained and was an excellent agent. Otherwise, he lost too much blood that day, plus he didn't eat or drink for 3 days, ordinary people would have died long ago. At this moment, Zhang Li was lying quietly in the wizard's room of camouflage. Someone would come to visit him every day and report the situation to Ancient One. Ancient One cast a spell on Zhang Li. If Zhang Li couldn't calm down, he would be trapped in a dream and repeat the same thing over and over again. In a dream, Zhang Li tried to flee to Asgard, and then use the power of the World Tree to escape to other star regions. But Odin slapped him back to Earth with a big nose. He thought about stealing the Cosmic Cube, and even threatened the lives of New York citizens, but the result was the same, being stopped by Ancient One, and then returning to every moment he saw Ancient One. Puff! Zhang Li fell in the ruins of New York, spitting out a mouthful of blood, his eyes full of unwillingness and numbness. Why don't you let me go? Zhang Li naturally noticed the constant repetition of the dream, but he was unwilling, so even if he knew he was trapped in the dream, he tried his best to resist. The final result was failure without exception. Mayfly shaking the tree. In a trance, Zhang Li seemed to have returned to the world he was familiar with, a world without extraordinary. People are always busy, and as an orphan, he is no exception. In order to live a better life, he even works harder than ordinary people. But without the extraordinary world, evil is always more suffocating, and it is impossible for people to see hope. Zhang Li went to work as usual and was arranged to go on a business trip, but when he came back, the intern arranged by the boss had replaced his position. Zhang Li was weak and naturally did not dare to resist, but retreating never won respect. Zhang Li finally got a promotion and a raise, and he saw that good days were coming, but in the end he became the cowardly scapegoat. Tax evasion. A large amount of money suddenly appeared in his bank card, and a big case with many loopholes was hastily closed on him. Unexpectedly, the boss colluded with the inspection party. He tried to resist and struggle. What awaited him in the end was the robber in the dark alley. His evidence was snatched away, and he accidentally knocked off the robber's mask during the struggle. Wasn't that man the intern arranged by the boss to enter the company? It is said that he is the younger brother of the mistress kept by the boss. Seeing that the matter was exposed, the man became ruthless and stabbed Zhang Li directly. Finally, Zhang Li died in a cold rainy night. In his previous life, he never escaped the game of the superior, and now his fate was rearranged by another superior. Zhang Li was unwilling to give up. Even if he was an ant, he should have his own time to scream. It seems that Zhang Li was trapped in the dream by Gu Yi, but Zhang Li was also trying to find a way out. What do you want me to do? Returning to the initial scene of the dream again, Zhang Li did not make a big fuss this time, and asked the doubts in his heart in a stable mood. Come find me. After Gu Yi finished speaking, the dream collapsed. Zhang Li slowly opened his eyes in the real world. Zhang Li, who had been sleeping for 5 days, woke up just at sunrise when the first ray of sunlight fell on the windowsill. Looking directly at the red sun in the sky, Zhang Li's inner desire for power once again climbed to another height. I thought I had lived a carefree life, but I still felt afraid. I'm afraid that I was being plotted against since I was born. If that's the case, there's no need to be timid. I've lived my life in vain, so I'm not losing out. With a plan in mind, Zhang Li no longer backed down. Loki wanted to plot against him, so why couldn't he plot against Loki? No matter what he has to face in the end, the most urgent thing is to find out what Loki chose him to do. Zhang Li came to Gu Yi's residence again, sat calmly in front of Gu Yi, and asked, "What does Loki want me to do?" Gu Yi was stunned for a moment, and realized that Zhang Li seemed to have undergone some transformation. Often the more important the decision, the more brutal and simple the way to resolve the dispute. Have you heard of gladiators? Zhang Li was stunned, and then replied, "Sure enough, so you want to train me to be Loki's boxer and fight for him in the ring? Who is the opponent?" This was originally just an exam, but Loki's promotion made many organizations or individuals who control the power of time feel threatened. So a test to test whether Loki is qualified has evolved into a competition for the power of time. It's really a bad taste. The superiors like to watch these bloody and violent games to kill their boring time. Among those who participate in the competition, some of them may really care about the power in their hands, but most of them should just have a playful mentality. Because of the existence of eternity, the authority of time is always in the hands of eternity, and above it are the living tribunal and OAA. So the authority that Loki is fighting for is just a joke. Even if he really sits firmly on the throne of the god of time, he can only be regarded as eternity's assistant.